Tucker and Bridget Willard, and today we're going to be doing some fun stuff today. We're going to be kind of doing our ESPN. I don't watch sports, so this is hard for me. So you may want to help me with some technology here, Bridget.
John Madden, we're giving live commentary, play-by-play for the state of the word. Or there could be political analysts, whatever.
Or this could be like the pageant of the Masters, or it could be the Tournament of Roses.
Yeah, Tournament of Roses. But,
you can watch it go by as it burns.
I don't know if I want to
do what happened last year.
But it's more of a roast. It's less of a... I reserve the right to roast, but I do want to know what color tie Matt's going to be wearing.
Ooh, if you know what color tie it is, put it in the chat. And that just let you know about the chat. This chat is fully interactive. So if you say something like, what color is Matt's tie? And I go and post that someplace, I can then take that and show it up on the screen. What color is Matt's tie? And wherever it is that you're watching this, you'll be able to see it up there. So feel free to come and hang out with us and, join us and play along. So what color is Matt's tie? What do you think, Bridget?
I hope it goes with the blue that he wore last time, cornflower blue. I know that we asked and they tweeted us the hex colors.
Because we're nerds.
Yeah. We are nerds, and I like being a nerd. I'm good at it.
Oh, man. I love the music in the background that's played.
I love jazz. I will say that, the first day we had barbecue. Let's just talk about the food overall. The first day we had barbecue, and that was okay. The brisket was good. The actual pasta for the pasta salad was undercooked, dramatically undercooked, like way too crunchy for me. But today was chicken and potatoes. Lemon chicken with potatoes was super good. Yesterday I had a really good carrot cake. Food all around has been good. Pepsi products. Pepsi has the contract here, so Diet Coke fans, sorry. The hotel is in a great place. It's literally a block away. I bought my jacket. I've worn it one time because I'm just walking across the street, so it doesn't matter. I'll probably wear it tomorrow. The other thing I wanted to say that I really was impressed with this camp is the vendor area, the hallway track, as they called it, carpeted, so much less noisy. It was so much better. And the layout was really well done. It was way easy to go around and talk to people. Plenty of space in the aisles. Really good. Yeah, I mean, it's still big. It's still a convention center. But
sure.
The restrooms were clean. There was restrooms on every floor. Normal stuff like that matters. And they had banners for the schedule. Those pop-up ones that are vertical?
Yeah.
Each track had one of those that popped up right when you went in. So it was super easy to see what the schedule was. I thought it was really, really well done. Jen Swisher, who's the lead organizer, was on Fox News yesterday, the day before, talking about it. It's pretty cool. There's been a lot of acquisitions this year, so it'll be interesting to see how much of Automatic is in the state of the word.
Yep. I'm very much so interested in seeing how that goes down. And if Matt goes on stage and says, Microsoft's buying us.
Well, I mean, they got that sweet Salesforce cash.
I know, right?
So is Salesforce part of Microsoft still? Or am I thinking of LinkedIn?
My photo came up.
Of course it did. You're awesome. I got to pop my chat out so I could talk to people. I forgot about that.
Oh, that's true, huh?
Yeah. Because, Uh-oh. Got quiet. Joseph Dixon on Twitter just said, I just saw you two could be a guru on Jen blogs for you. It's kind of surreal to see friends pop up on. And I want to say, hey, I know you. Oh, it is funny. I wish I was this popular in high school.
Oh, that's a quote. You're pulling that quote.
Oh man.
Oh, we're getting to the top of the hour here. What do you think they're gonna do?
It's gonna be a big, it's like
It's
Jesus.
Bridget.
It's like Jesus walking in. Hey, it's me. Sharon and Cheryl were there too.
Yep. Were they there today too?
No, but they were on the screen.
Oh
They
yeah.
made our WAPU. Yeah, a lot of good sessions. I'm sad I didn't get to go to them all. But, my peers are in the sponsor area. Oh, I gotta say hi to my clients.
I see some folks are watching, so I'm super excited about that. So any of you folks that are watching, wherever it is that you're watching, type a little message in there. Say who you are. Say hi to us real quick. Wait, just give us some a little bit of good feelings.
I'll tell you the speaker gift. It's a
just like this.
It's a lunchbox, and then this WordCamp US reusable silverware.
Oh, all right, that's cool.
Rolls up, and this is the coolest part: an actual thank you card.
What?
Signed
by everybody?
By the organizing team.
What? That is awesome. That's a lot of signatures.
No, seriously, it's a legit lunchbox.
Nice.
And then there's this other thing. They said it's called a bento box.
Yeah, bento box. Oh yeah, those are awesome. Bridget, all you got to do is do a little bit of YouTubing on bento boxes, and you can make all of your lunches look awesome.
This is for lunch?
It's for lunch.
Okay, I'll take it on a picnic because I work at home. Yep. So, but still, it's pretty.
So make sure you do a YouTube video on bento boxes so you can learn how to use them.
That was a legit speaker gift, though, since we're waiting for the man of the hour to appear. The eagle has landed. I wonder what Matt's code name would be if
somebody had to walk around with the WordPress football behind him.
Yeah.
It's a bento box.
It's a bento box. It's the update button.
Now I'm enjoying it.
It's the update button is what they're carrying from behind them.
Okay, I'm just making sure we're actually live. We are actually fully live.
We are live. People are watching.
I'm just making sure that the video is fully buffered up.
Oh, yeah.
We're not sitting back 3 minutes because we're already 3 minutes behind here and we haven't started yet. Yep.
Well, so, I mean, if it's hashtag STOW.
Yeah. We'll tell folks what we had going on here. So Bridget's actually on location. I myself am a couple thousand miles away or 1,000 miles away or whatever in California here. Just hanging out in the same spot that I always use for kind of doing this stuff. And hey, look, we got Kirk saying hi. That's awesome. So yeah, Bridget's at her hotel hanging out, not wanting to go stand in lines and wait for everybody to get inside and sit down, which is probably what we're waiting for right now. And then they'll hit the go button and we'll be able to actually see what the heck's going on.
And don't forget, you can also tweet with the hashtag SOTW, State of the Word, if you're watching on the live stream. And you could chat with us on all things. This episode is not sponsored, so we're free to be as roasty and toasty as we want to. I mean, Jason's nicer than me, but I'm just saying, sweet Salesforce cash. I'm fine being a capitalist. I want to know how much of that is going to be talked about with State of the Word. It's going to start the way it always starts out with, hey, everybody, great organizers. The world is awesome. Look at how many meetups we had. We had the most number of WordCamps, most number of meetups. These are the numbers of people that came. Super awesome. Gutenberg came out last year. What are they going to talk about with Gutenberg? Or they don't even call it that anymore. They call it the WordPress editor or the block editor, which is easier on the tongue. So I think that's what they're gonna talk about. So he always unveils something. So it'd be interesting to see what's being
Hopefully people
unveiled.
know. Hopefully people actually know what he's unveiling, and they already built it before he's unveiling it.
Well, I don't mind if he didn't, as long as it's not live at the moment. You know, I'm
Right.
for concept cars. You know, that's fine.
Mhm.
Let's tell us where we're going. That's good. You know, that's totally fine with me. But yeah, I'm looking at the tweets just to make sure we aren't behind. But I
We're
don't see
definitely
any.
not.
Yeah, we're definitely. This is unusual. That could be my Kathy Lee Gifford. The room is full as Photomat prepares to take a stage at State of the Word, WordCamp US. Jessica Litch, I've got a cup of tea, a piece of homemade cake, and I'm ready for the State of the Word live stream. Well, we're all waiting
We're all waiting.
for the mad attack. Uh-oh.
What happened? Just want to make sure we're caught up here.
Oh, maybe he's actually getting on the stage now.
Oh
That's Jen Swisher.
no. Oh. There's no audio.
Yeah, it needs to be louder for sure.
Yeah, let's see here. Help us out a little bit.
Woo. Good
There
afternoon,
he is.
everybody.
Is it blue?
St. Louis. How about
Ooh,
that?
it's
city
kind of a
museum?
grayish.
Gray blue.
Kind of wild. Do we still have the same number of people here as before? You know, that's always something we have to worry about. Thank you, Jen, for welcoming us all to WordCamp US. The St. Louis team has done an amazing job hosted.
I mean, it's good, but I like the cornflower blue better.
I have a surprise for you.
Uh-oh, surprises.
There's been a documentary made about WordPress. And I think
I'm
it
going to it.
spirit of who we are and what we do.
Open.film.
So before we get started, I'd like to present the world premiere of Open, the community code.
Oh man.
Why is he upstaging the film premiere tonight?
Say's gonna be mad.
Why?
Say's company used to be called Open.
Oh.
Should a bookstore name.
So
Open.
Matt, there's a $10 billion ecosystem surrounding WordPress. How do you reconcile all of the volunteers giving so much of their time to the community without pay
Excellent
and the business
question.
of WordPress that makes so much money?
I think that the way, let me restart that.
Then I open my browser to a choice of search engines that look up menus of almost anything I can think of, whether it's my projects on Egypt or Andrew playing games.
It sounds complicated, but really it all happens behind the scenes, so it's easy for you. And you're right, you can find anything from planning a vacation to MTV or real-time live audio. The net is fabulous.
Now, maybe you've read or heard about the internet, but you're still not exactly sure what it is. Well, if that's the case, don't worry. In no time at all, you'll be able to impress everyone with your amazing techno savvy.
Techno savvy.
That's right, techno savvy.
AOL 5.0, baby.
What about if I want to do my own homepage?
Now that's a big project. You'd better get someone to help you.
Like who?
A WordPress developer who should be
No one knew
charging
that.
That allows people to produce and publish websites on the internet and do so at a very affordable price. And its value is to be able to make publishing and internet publishing open to everyone.
With WordPress, it is open source. So from a legal point of view, from a copyright point of view, from a software freedom point of view, you can change every line of code, you can redistribute it, you can fork it, you can modify it, you can delete it, you can do really whatever you like. And regardless of what the developers or the creators want you to even, you know?
You know, a lot of people who haven't seen it probably don't understand it. They kind of feel that if you release your wares to the public, then you're giving it away. I mean, how are you going to monetize it? How are you going to make any money doing it?
Open source is a methodology for software development that literally depends on a critical mass of humans. And the more people we have contributing to WordPress, the open source software, the better the software gets for more people.
But I'm curious, what's this going to look like from a functional standpoint?
No, it is all volunteers.
By
Not
hundreds,
almost.
thousands of volunteers around the world. And most people think WordPress is made of code. And it's true. Obviously, it's a software. So it's made of code, but it's made of so much more.
WordPress is a set of code. It is a website. It is a service. It is all these other things. But it's also an idea that brings people together, and something we can believe in, something that gives hope, and something that we can influence. And I think especially in today's day and age, when there's so much going on in the world, something that we can believe in and can make leave the world a little bit better than how we found it, make a dent in the universe, try to create the web that we want our loved ones or our future progeny to grow up in, is exciting to be a part of.
This community is not made up of a group of paid individuals. They're all volunteers. And so a lot of people think, why do you do this? What is it about this community?
I think a lot about what motivates someone to participate in our program as a volunteer, whether it's day of staff, organizing team, speaker, etc. Some people come to us because they are so grateful to have this free software of WordPress and want to give back to the effort that makes WordPress possible. A lot of people come to us because they believe in the mission and they want to further it. A lot of people come to us because they realize that working within our program is a great way to grow their skills.
A WordCamp is a conference that is completely centered around WordPress. So if you go to another conference, you're going to go to a conference that has all different kinds of topics, right? But when you go to a WordCamp, it's 2 full days of everything related to WordPress.
See us at the booth. We're happy to chat about anything and have a good camp.
Everybody here is volunteering, is that right?
Everyone here is volunteering.
Okay.
Now I should say that our lead organizer, her volunteer has been a 40 plus, maybe even a 60 plus volunteer job for at least the past 3 weeks, probably even more. And so we are volunteering, but at the end, volunteering almost turns into that full-time job. And so because of that, the volunteers either work for themselves and have their own company, and so they take their valuable time and give it to this initiative, or they have very understanding and supportive employers who understand the value of community and who understand the value of this event. And by doing so, they then allow all of us to just give everything we have in these final stretch to this event. And so I want to thank these great companies for serving on this panel and doing what you do every day. Thank you.
I've gone to a lot of conferences, and those are called conferences, and those are called industry events.
Hi, Adam.
Community.
Hey,
There's
Adam.
a difference based on that. You go to an industry event, you go to a trade show, it's about business. You go to a WordCamp conference, it's about the community. It's about making relationships.
WordPress is the community. It's the passion that people have for what they do. I think it's the idea that you can create as you will, and you can work with people at things like WordCamps and meetups and through the contributor teams. And I think it just makes people feel at home and welcome. And I think it's just something that everyone is looking for, a place to belong.
Every person in the community has this commonality of being open and wanting to help others without fear of hiding what they're working on or without fear of competition. As you'll see in this community, or maybe as you have seen, there are people that work for various web hosts that are all very good friends. There's no sense of we're better than you, or we don't want you to succeed. Everybody
publicly
kind of helps each other. I mean, we hear that in natural disasters. So this community was so great. Everybody stepped up and helped each other. And I think that's kind of human nature. except when you get into the world of business, or I want to sell this and make money, or I need to do this to put food on the table. In spite of all that, when you come to a WordCamp, it's so inspiring to see the openness and the willingness of everybody to help each other.
I just got there and I was like, this is unbelievable. All these people are here to make a piece of software that is used by other millions of people.
This is a community that really thrives on openness, collaboration, and including more people than they necessarily need.
WordPress. Bye for the future.
So Matt, there's a $10 billion ecosystem surrounding WordPress. How do you reconcile all of the volunteers giving so much of their time to the community without pay and the business of WordPress that makes so much money?
Right. How do you justify it?
Let me restart that.
Yeah, let you restart that.
So WordPress is built on the GPL, which provides the 4 freedoms. One of the freedoms says that you can charge for things. So although we distribute all the WordPress stuff for free, if you want to take it, repackage it, and charge for it, that's totally fine. So when you look at the $10 billion a year flowing through the WordPress community, it's built on things, but it's also people building e-commerce shops and selling quilts or selling photographs or selling anything else. So it's enabled by WordPress. And we have this thing we push called Fire for the Future, which is the idea that if whatever you're getting out of WordPress, if you can put 5% back into essentially things that benefit the community, not just you, it avoids the tragedy of the commons. This sort of thing that is common in open source and in lots of things, that everyone kind of overmines a shared resource and then it dries up. It doesn't get the investment or the caretaking it needs to be truly sustainable. I think 5% is actually a good rule of thumb. And that can be given back in terms of time, money, donations. It's just basically saying, 5% of the time or 5% of my resources, I'm going to put back towards things that benefit the world.
Yeah. I should have done 5% instead of 10
if the whole world did that, it'd be a much better place.
A week.
I hear you can get a refund.
Keep doing it.
A refund from zero.
Let someone else step in and do all the work. Aren't you ready to let go? No, I'm not. Because if I wasn't doing this, I would be missing it because I really enjoy it. I have fun. There's a great sense of accomplishment whenever you work with a group of people and when you put together an amazing WordCamp. And it has nothing to do with any kind of recognition, any kind of business decision. It really is about, this is truly what I enjoy doing. It's a hobby.
Right, hobby. That's the key word.
Right. It's like, how can we build this thing that everyone has a piece of the pie. Everyone has a way to impact the world with their thoughts and their beliefs. And I think that that's why I feel passionately about it. I like the idea that everyone is welcome and everyone can create.
Every Blue host. She's awesome.
WordPress is a tool, a blank canvas. People can paint on it something beautiful, or they can paint something very hateful and ugly. I do believe that as humanity becomes more connected, as we interact with each other more, that does start to break down probably the biggest myth of modernity, which is that we're all separate, because we're not. And the more that people learn that and connect with their fellow humans and other things in nature, we realize that we're all part of the same system, all part of the same thing. The actions of one impacts everything else in the system, whether that's the planet, climate, nature, animals, space. Who knows where it goes?
Oh goodness, that was good that we didn't do the entire movie. Unless that was the entire thing.
Really, the whole movie?
I don't know. Like, are we supposed to watch this later?
Well, why would you watch it? I guess I'm not in it. I was interviewed for that at WordCamp in Seattle last year, but I guess since I got kicked off the marketing team, I'm not on it anymore. Not officially kicked off, just replaced in the middle of the night while I was sleeping.
Literally.
Literally in the middle of the night. So I wonder why there's a premiere party then. If the movie, we already just saw the movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
And that had like 4 people in it interviewed. Like,
The internet is a work in progress. We can't tell you everything about it because it's changing every day.
That's right. In fact, the best advice we can give you is get on it and start exploring.
Let's go.
Okay.
I've seen some familiar names there. I was produced by Mark Monder and Kathy Zantz. You might know from some of the WordPress work. But I thought this was a beautiful contribution to the WordPress world, and they're actually going to be submitting it to festivals coming up. So hopefully this can make it into South by or one of the other great festivals. If you have any pull with any of those, please get in touch with Mark or someone, see if we can get it in. But a good illustration as well of the different types of contributions. So when I saw a preview of it, that was my first time seeing the final cut. Thought, wow, could we premiere that at State of the Word? That'd be kind of cool. So thank you all for joining that.
Oh, I guess that is the whole film.
Oh, wow.
That's weird.
So to officially jump in, howdy St. Louis. I'm told that this place is also called the Lou. Is that something y'all say? Do people from the UK look at you funny? This is actually not my first time in St. Louis. I was back here for a happiness meetup in 2011, which was my first exposure to a city museum. And of course, I'm familiar with the St. Lunatics and other culture ambassadors you have out there in the world. Though I was not aware that St. Louis hosted the World's Fair in 1904. And in fact, many amazing technological innovations have come out of here, including the wireless telephone, X-ray machines, electric streetcars, and the first prototypes of personal automobiles, which back then were both gas and electric. So it took like 100 years to come back to the electric. So it seemed fitting to have the event here and also to look at where WordPress has been and where we're going to go. This event was brought to you by 47 organizers, 122 volunteers, and 90 speakers.
I wonder how much that is in billable hours.
Oh, man. That's be a lot.
That's an expensive.
This event was also brought to you by the sponsors that make it so that the ticket is so inexpensive. Thank you to Bluehost, WooCommerce, Jetpack, and Google.
PayPal and HubSpot were there too.
So as we head into the final months of 2019, it's actually our earliest WordCamp US in a while. It's good to take time to reflect on everything that we worked together on, collaborated, our accomplishments, and just everything been going on with this year. We've had 2 core releases so far this year. The first, WordPress 5.1, named for Betty Carter, included the first iteration of the site health screen, which some of you might be familiar with. Got a few fans.
Upgrade
the idea
your
behind this is that, again, WordPress is all about empowering users, and we wanted to put the information and the tools in the hands of users as well to keep their site running in tip-top shape. As we power an ever-increasing percentage of the web, it is our responsibility and behooves us to try to make sure that portion of the web is safe, secure, up-to-date, and running the latest and greatest stuff. So this gives people information they can either use themselves or get in touch with their support, hosting, or things like that. We had a lot of developer experience improvements in 5.1, including the cron API. This is kind of the thing that runs in the background of WordPress. Actions happen at certain times. So let's say you schedule a post. Have you ever wondered how that actually gets posted at the time when you schedule it? We have kind of a weird cron thing built into WordPress. We've enhanced it now so that advanced hosts or hosts that have a lot of cron scheduled tasks can hook into that and make it more efficient. We also, for the multi-site fans in the room, added a site meta feature, which gives developers a more performant way to store arbitrary data as opposed to just dumping everything in options like we used to. 5.2, named for Jaco Pastorius, came out in May. This one was pretty exciting because what you see on the left there is the old widget screen, and on the right is the new widgets, all available within Gutenberg, which also means that you can edit them in line and see exactly what they're going to look like in the real-time Gutenberg interface. We also did a quick iteration based on feedback from y'all. There were a lot of blocks.
That's a different word.
Good problem to have. So we made it for yourself or for your clients. You could hide or show certain blocks. We have a block manager. And then finally, you shouldn't see this anymore. WSOD stands for the white screen of death. I guess originally it was called this because as a play on the blue screen of death that Windows used to famously have. But basically what this means, if you visit your site, you see this, there was probably some sort of PHP error or something that is preventing your site from loading. And unfortunately, that makes it also hard to fix your site if it's erroring out. So now when something like this happens, particularly from an auto upgrade or a plugin upgrade, you'll get a special email with a link that lets you basically navigate to a URL which deactivates the plugin before it loads and allows you to then
how does they know what plugin it is?
Get back into your site.
Smart.
So again, this is just an example of something coming up from users, coming up from the support forums that we've identified as common barriers in our user experience and did a lot of work to try to rectify.
Good job, y'all.
WordPress 5.3 is coming on November 12th, so just around the corner. This is not a pre-announcement of the Jazzer. We always do that on the day. So you will see which jazz person is named for, but it is a very, very exciting
Buddy Rich.
For a number of things.
Because of the drama.
We have over 150 block editor improvements. So some of you might not know, but the version of Gutenberg that's been shipping with WordPress 5.2 is a few months out of date now. And there's been lots of updates since then, as I will talk about more later. But I'm very, very excited to get all the Gutenberg improvements in the hands of a wider audience. It's also coming with a new default theme. This is 2020. It is a Gutenberg first, beautiful CMS-powered theme with an original design contributed by Anders Noren, and then, of course, expanded by the 2020 team. It is really slick. I have switched my own site, ma.tt, over to it, and it really highlights some of the power of Gutenberg, so I highly encourage checking it out. If you would like to get involved in some of the final, I guess we're basically done, but if you want to see the code behind it and some of what went into it, you can check it out on GitHub as well. In the vein of improving things for administrators and making WordPress easier to run for everyone, we've put in a little screen that just kind of verifies your admin email, which is separate from your user email. So we would send out emails like when things were auto-updating and when things broke, but we found that a lot of people had set up that email when they first started and never looked at it again. So now about every 6 months, you'll get like a little, hey, is this still your best email?
Good.
That's good. Again, these things seem simple, but it's a foundation on which we can
No, that's super important.
Every single one of your websites you built.
On that admin
Is this still
and also,
you?
Pathway is going to have some more developer
All your
stuff.
staging sites.
There's going to be so much more. We'll talk about that later. We did time and date component fixes that probably at least 3 people here in the audience know about. Let's raise your hand if you know what those mean.
I hope so.
Savvy audience. That's at least 40.
Why would you say
And we, of
3
course,
people? Why is
update
it
to be compatible with
about
the
it?
latest PHP 7.4, which is, of course, faster and better.
Faster, better, stronger. Faster,
We're
better,
also a
stronger.
year where we raised the minimum
What percentage
PHP
do you think
version
are
of
developers
WordPress.
out in the...
Most of them. At least 50%.
We ended support for PHP 5.2 to 5.3. And I have an interesting stat that for people running WordPress 5.2, which is our latest stable release, 83% on PHP 5. Or PHP 7 or later.
Oh, good.
We are seeing people who are updating WordPress, also updating PHP, which is very exciting. However,
That was an applause break,
I
people.
found something else, which is about 10% of all the WordPresses we're tracking are on older versions of PHP. So we think this might be contributing to some people being sort of stuck on some older versions of WordPress. That it seems that they are running a higher percentage than the general population of older versions of PHP, which we track going all the way back to 5.0.
Right.
I know. So we still have a lot of work.
blog for
10% of the WordPresses on the world still on too old to upgrade PHP. Ends up being a lot of them. You could call that about 3% of the web. So
Yeah.
it sort of woke me up to the fact that we're going to need to really dive into these and work with the web host and the people, excuse me, hosting them. Try to get in there to get these on the latest and greatest. While this has all been going on, there's been a ton of fun stuff happening on the mobile side of WordPress, which is a crucial, important for user adoption part that sometimes we forget about in the day-to-day development. So
this is important.
Of the 38 core blocks that are in Gutenberg, we have now ported 10 of them to mobile, and we got Gutenberg on mobile in the first place. So
you mean the mobile app?
Yeah.
Oh. I don't even use that.
So the block editor is now available on both iOS and Android devices.
Okay, good.
Including one additional block coming out and the release coming out on Monday. We are almost done with the offline support, which means you will be able to blog and use the WordPress app on a plane, train, or automobile when you are not connected, or maybe even at a conference like this. And we have a dark mode done on iOS. That will be coming to Android in a matter of weeks.
Dark mode for
Of course, the
1990.
people side of WordPress,
Love my
as we
dark
just
mode.
heard from that, the open
Dreaming
film
in the green text.
is one of the most exciting. And the events and people side of WordPress has had an exciting year as well. In 2019, there will be 141 WordCamps. Those are the big ones all over the world. 34 of those in brand new cities.
That's amazing.
We also have this new
That's
thing, 17 of which, and one of which tomorrow, called Kids Camps, which is, events adjacent to WordCamps designed specifically for our younger contributors. In fact, I believe at this camp we had one of our youngest, here at WordCamp US, one of our youngest speakers ever. Can you confirm that? Yeah? 4 at what age? Let's call it 14 or 15. So very, very excited for a new generation. It's a little scary to think that they weren't born when WordPress started.
It's a problem with legal replications.
I know if that made any of y'all feel old. It definitely made me feel a little advanced.
Having babysitting and stuff like that, and there's no legal.
5,000 meetups.
There's a legality issue.
Meetups are more like monthly.
With who is responsible for
16 Do Action charity hackathon.
Insurance-wise for those children.
WordPress volunteers and community members come together.
Which was brought up by the Kinney firm.
Set them up.
And part of the problem with WordPress Foundation and
It's also a year when we started bringing in
It's tough to get
more of the people's
all that
stories
set up when it's
to
just a
WordPress.org,
one-off thing.
Blog, our news site.
If you're doing it
So
for
the icon on the left is
a whole bunch
HeroPress.
of
If you haven't come across HeroPress,
but even at local
I
camp,
recommend
it's a
checking it
big
out.
issue.
And maybe you might even
Or
have
it
a
should
story you
be.
want to share there. HeroPress is a community site which highlights the journeys of how people came to WordPress and the effect it's had on their life and the effect they've had on WordPress as well. We started highlighting one of these per month on the WordPress.org blog, and it's been really, really exciting.
Oh, good job! You called it
more
a blog
people
instead of P2.
Yay!
Stories that are new to
We're
me
calling
as
it a
well.
blog
So
now.
it is a must-read for me every month. There's a bittersweet part, or a sad part of 2019 as well, that we did lose some community members.
Yeah, you did.
Viper 007 Bond, also known as Alex Mills, who's a longtime contributor, friend and colleague. I also recognize that many people might have lost other folks in the community. So I did want to take just a brief moment of silence to remember and thank those who are no longer with us.
Okay, but how about attrition?
Alex was an amazing contributor to WordPress, great friend, a great colleague. Automatic is putting together a scholarship to parallel the Kim Parcells Scholarship that's been going on for a few years now that brings someone to WordCamp US. And this will be targeted at a plugin developer who hasn't had the chance to visit WordCamp US yet. And so there'll be a full scholarship, full ride for them. And the beautiful part of this is actually Alex's story mirrors that quite a bit. His mom was telling me where he was a little bit more introverted, but he found out there was going to be a WordCamp nearby to him. Even though he'd been a big contributor, he had never been to any of the events and went, and that was part of what allowed him to blossom into finding a new set of friends, a new community, a job at Automatic, kind of everything that changed for him in that kind of last decade. It has been a very, very eventful 11 months. We've had lots of ups and downs.
Yep.
That's what this graphic is illustrating. And, but we've had thousands of people come together as well. I do want to rewind a little bit and talk about where we were just about a year ago. So close your eyes and imagine that WordPress 5.0, probably the biggest change we had ever made to WordPress in its 16 years.
It is the biggest change.
Before WordCamp US started in Nashville.
Probably. Come
We had
on.
people coordinating work from airplanes. There were impromptu groups of core
Right,
developers.
the day before WordCamp.
Released in the hallways. The polyglots and marketers support teams were just scrambling to get everything ready.
Right,
And
you
of course,
did
we had that snazzy release video. That was a pretty controversial year.
Yeah, it was.
We came together and decided to make this big change because we wanted to, well, first,
Get
disrupt
investor
ourselves.
money from Salesforce.
We wanted to empower more WordPress users to realize our mission of democratizing publishing. We want to make the web a more open and welcoming place. But Gutenberg got some feedback.
Yeah, I did.
And they're all real tweets or quotes from articles.
I still hate it. I still hate
Don't
it.
want to pile onto
I
the
have a hard
Gutenberg
time
hate,
with
but
it.
come on, this is nowhere near ready.
It changes too much.
I think it's safe to say I absolutely, capitals, hate the Gutenberg editor on WordPress now. And I lower
Hated it.
for salt in the wound.
Still hate it.
Gutenberg is just plain terrible and barely functional. A design should make my life easier, not
Right.
hard.
Right.
Finally, don't update to WordPress 5.0. There was lots and lots of feedback on that. And
I'm glad
I
he's
think we learned a
acknowledging
lot,
it. That's big of
both in
him.
the process,
Yeah.
but also in how we can communicate change better in the future.
Yes.
So there are no changes on the horizon as big as Gutenberg was.
Yeah.
I was trying to help
think of that
out
as
on the
like
marketing
being on
team.
batters swing with a couple bats before they go up to the mound. We've now had really good practice for any future change.
Oh, silly Matt.
I think that we also have a great opportunity when we make big changes in the future. Sort of build that trust in the conversations around testing, using GitHub for development, things like accessibility. So I understand why we had a lot of this feedback, but we did get through it together. So thank you.
Are we through it? Are we through it? That's
We have had
good.
since that
Look
5.0.
at that hug. That's
20
like somebody
releases
died.
of the Gutenberg plugin. So the pace of iteration of
That's
Gutenberg
the
has
problem. 20 releases is the
And I'm also
problem.
very, very proud to say, because there was some discussion around kind of contributions, that the number of Gutenberg contributors since 5.0 has grown from 200 over 480.
Yeah, because of the triage.
Year to year. I'm also very, very excited to say that even as WordPress becomes more advanced, we incorporate new technologies, you're all learning JavaScript deeply, is that we're going to have the most contributors we ever had to WordPress ever this year.
That's great.
So in 2018,
That's awesome.
we had about 594 contributors. This year, so far, we're at 1,122 unique contributors. Thank you.
I wonder where that data comes from. People joining WordPress chat.
Also, thank you for clapping.
Full
Allows me to
contributors.
take a
That's harder than.
You want to
just
throw some more in there.
coders.
The current release, version 5.3, coming out November 12th, is set to have the most contributors of any release in our history by over 100 people. I'm also happy to say that the adoption of Gutenberg is going fantastic. We have over 2.7 more sites using Gutenberg than not.
Yeah,
This is
2.7
actually
times
probably
1
underground
is
because we're
2.7.
subtracting everyone using the classic editor from this. But of course, those of you who might be using the classic editor know, by the way, classic editor is a plugin we promoted very heavily with the upgrade to 5.0 that allowed people to still use the old editor as well as using the new editor. But it actually, classic editor doesn't turn off Gutenberg, it allows you to toggle between them. So you can decide on a per post basis what you want to use. So we believe some interesting number, I don't have any exact thing, but interesting number of the classic editor users are actually also using Gutenberg as well.
Oh, that's...
We just passed 2 days ago 50 million posts made with Gutenberg.
Okay. If you count the classic editor, that's cheating.
And that number is going up fast.
Yeah.
We're seeing over 270,000 per day. And again, this is a subset of the posts that we're tracking. This is only folks running the Jetpack plugin that we get this stat from. So
Oh, data from Jetpack.
that
That's
is
a
what
big
what
prize.
that number actually is.
Are you kidding me? Jetpack
So
gets
look
data?
at where Gutenberg is.
Wow.
Talk about some of the development and work we've been putting into
Why
it.
is Gutenberg
First and
not
foremost, I want to talk
capitalized?
about performance.
Because it's all lowercase.
I'm so proud of the
Except for
team
that.
for this graph.
That's uppercase.
So what you see on the left there is
It's
the average
uppercase.
seconds to load from version 5.0, then all the way on the right is release candidate 2 of version 5.3.
That's great.
So we've halved the time it takes to load Gutenberg and the post and edit screen.
Right.
Also, one of the things that we noticed when we first launched is that the actual typing lag for all the complex things we were doing in Gutenberg was fairly high. So that has gone from 170 milliseconds in 5.0 now down to 53 milliseconds.
That's because of the PHP, Jason?
Down by
it's JavaScript.
2/3 in terms of the speed that's going in there. We put in some fun user enhancements. So for example, when we first launched, when you move blocks around, which is what you're seeing on the left, they used to just pop around. We've added motion. So now you kind of can see what's going on. It just feels a lot better. And of course, this also respects the motion sensitivity settings that you can set on your browser for accessibility. We added a typewriter mode. So this is pretty fun because like a classic typewriter, it keeps your vertical place as you type. So
Yeah, I like that. I will say I do like that.
At the bottom of the screen, just a much more pleasant experience and something that now I want from every single editor I use.
You should use Gutenberg.
We had a block preview.
Sometimes I have to.
Here is then when you
everybody's sites are there.
blocks, just when it was just the icon and the name, you never knew. We recreated a little bit of the mystery meat problem we were trying to solve.
Okay, good.
Blocks is on there.
Show you right next to it exactly, or a preview of what the block is going to look like, and it allows for more explanation. So if you were clicking on something and you're like, "What is masonry?"
Yeah,
is a fair question to ask.
Yeah,
it'll show you that that's
really
actually
good.
what we call these cool tiled galleries, kind of Pinterest.
Yeah, that's a really good improvement.
That's cool.
We created a quick navigation mode, which helps with both usability and accessibility for you to be able to navigate through blocks with a keyboard. And you can press escape to go into that navigation mode.
Nice.
Now that
What
you
is
have somebody
cool for
already
users,
quit.
I'm even more excited about the catch-up that we're doing in version 5.3. This is the simplest thing, but wow. We actually found, we've been gathering some stats on what people are searching for Gutenberg blocks.
How to turn it
One
off.
of the very, very top things was social icons.
No way.
These are like the
Are you
NASCAR
kidding me?
stickers of the web.
What?
They're everywhere.
No.
But you can
They always
now
put
add
WordPress at the very beginning. Do you see that?
icons, any place you can put a
reblog
Gutenberg
thing?
block, and we created a really nice interface for doing so.
Who even does that? Does
Huge
anybody even reblog?
Taking the navigation
WordPress
menu.
people do.
So this is
From
what previously was an
automatic.
entire screen inside of WordPress with its own everything. That's what you see on the left. And making it an inline Gutenberg block that still supports all the same functionality and even adds some new. So what you're seeing there is a color picker, which previously wasn't even something you could do with the old navigation editor.
Okay.
By the way,
colors on our menu?
from menus to navigation.
Okay.
This is going to make all the restaurant users of WordPress understand it a lot faster.
Because it won't just be the menu.
Real issue we've run into in testing.
I love it.
We've created the ability to do gradients in Gutenberg, and
Why do we want gradients?
pretty fun, fairly complex interaction, but we're able
What a
to
waste of
put it
time.
together in a exciting way. So you can create blocks like it's
It's
1999.
because when you're
again.
making squeeze pages, you need to have your buttons look
That
good.
of course pairs well with our multi-button block. Another thing.
We called it.
Basic, but these are things that we were running into quite a bit that people were asking for. We are we're now a year into the idea and the reality that there's going to be 1,000 blocks blooming. So people are creating blocks left and right, and it's really exciting to see what's going on. So one of the things that I'm most proud of the team of for
We
doing
should
this
have one button, one call to action. Why
so
are
what
we
this
building?
is that you're going to be able to install blocks in the block directory completely in line. So what you just saw happen right there was, what was happening in the background rather, is someone typed in the block they were looking for. They didn't find anything. It called out to the centralized WordPress.org block directory.
Okay, so it's a plugin directory.
And what happened was essentially like a plugin got installed, activated in the background, and the block was available to insert completely instantly, completely in line, with no page loads.
Heard you learn and liked blocks. We're gonna put a block directory in your blocks.
This is also really fun because as the block directory grows to incorporate hundreds and thousands of blocks, you can use those building blocks just in line as what you're doing. We're also going to expand this to include patterns. Block patterns are what we're calling collections of blocks. So if you could imagine like a testimonial pattern or slider type things, basically collections of the basic building blocks that take the most common patterns that you see on websites all over the world and make them accessible to install with just a single click. The idea here, and what we're really trying to enable with these fundamental building blocks, is that you could look at any website in the world and build that inside of WordPress with just a few clicks. It is coming. On the community side of things, we've also seen some pretty cool examples. This is the Mortgage Bankers Association, a site built by RTCamp, and they created a block template for their newsletter functionality. So what's actually happening right here is they are building an email newsletter in line with Gutenberg. To give a quick call out to WordCamp Phoenix. Any folks from Phoenix here? Nice. Which also got a little call out in the film. Also made me realize how weird the word Phoenix is when you look at it. It's like the word weird. You're like, is that O or either? This is 100% blocks. And in fact, many of the WordCamps, including WordCamp US, are now building their entire sites.
Because they don't have a choice.
And blocks. 9 Publishing,
like offer Beaver Builder, and people might use that.
2 newsrooms.
You can't. WordCamps have to only do it the way they say.
They estimate that they are saving 15 hours a week for editors across both newsrooms when they implemented this Gutenberg.
That's the most frustrating experience for me as a content
creator.
creator.
Created a plugin which takes a client-created Word document, not WordPress, Word, and associated images, imports the content directly into Gutenberg editor, and using a combination of core and custom blocks, basically make it ready to go.
That makes sense.
Into the publishing system, which again, super, super cool.
That is very cool.
For these folks building on top of these words.
That's really cool.
He's having to ask for applause now.
And also for deciphering the word.
Notice the halo behind him.
It's impressive in and of itself. Actually, remember, it actually came up in the Q&A.
He tries to
someone
pull
asked
these like
what
nerdy dad
percentage
jokes that just
Gutenberg
don't
was
land.
done.
No, because he's not funny.
10% done. Very excited to say that we're now at 20% done. So the important changes, and part of why we made the investment in Gutenberg, was this is the fundamental foundation that we're going to build the next decade of WordPress under. And so we'll do about 10% per year. But already as we get to 20%, it is incredible, humbling, and awe-inspiring, everything that people are able to create with what's in there already. To give a quick reminder, there are going to be 4 phases of Gutenberg. We are, I would say, on the tail end of the easier editing phase. This is where we're tackling all the usability problems we had in TinyMC and our former editors, where people were having trouble manipulating embeds, shortcodes, images, basically getting the layouts and formatting that they wanted with the old editor. We have increased that usability tremendously. And the Gutenberg team still does at least 1 usability test per week and posts them at least once a month to the Make blogs, showing kind of the progress
thing's gonna
of
be the
those
big
kind of
one.
real world, not people who are in this room.
I know, it just looks like
people new to
whatever the block
WordPress.
person
How
made
are
it
they
to look
able
like.
to use this interface? We're currently in the thick of the second phase, phase 2, which is all around customization. To give you a little update there, we have completed converting all the widgets to blocks, block customization, navigation menu, which isn't a plugin, but it's going to come in core, the widget block screen, and customize our widgets panel with block support. We are finishing up a block pattern directory and implementing full site editing. You like how I slipped the biggest thing there just as a final bullet point? But it is coming along, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
In 10 years, when I'm 56 years old and I don't care anymore.
Third one is going to be collaboration, which is where we take everything that you see in Gutenberg and make it so that you can real-time co-edit with anyone else who is
Why
editing.
would you want a real-time? Like Google Docs?
Invest
Like Google
some
Docs.
development into the workflow around
Except Google Docs runs on like
changes
a
and
crap ton of servers.
sharing changes, previews, etc.
Yeah.
Finally, last, we're going to tackle the Babelfish problem and have multilingual support. core to WordPress and core to Gutenberg. And Europe always gets super excited about that.
Yeah, that's why they're not clapping. There's 12 people clapping.
We're still at the very, very beginning of this journey. We've been doing Gutenberg for about 2 years now. There were 47 releases prior to 5.0 coming out. We've had 20 since then. But it's the community, all of you, that really make WordPress great. It was so interesting how quickly the individual interviews in that film all went back to that same word, community. There's so many parts of how you can get involved with WordPress. And I want to talk about some of the ways, or some of my suggestions for if you're watching this, either the 1,000-something people here in this room, or the many on the live stream, or the folks who are going to watch this later, ways that you can get involved in being a co-creator of WordPress. First is helping be the change.
Bridget,
And you might have
jump
heard
in and explain
before
how to
every
do
single
it?
talk we've given that tomorrow there's going to be a contributor day. So if you are able to get to...
I tried being the change. You got 2 years of me being the change, and you give it to Yoast.
What this
And
is
then he quit after 5 months, so I'm done.
what we have.
Maybe they'll swing back around and pick you back up.
P2 and seeing
You know, I would like to
Yeah.
help the community team. I might do that.
for all the people who are passionate about
That'd be cool.
Localization, all the
I
people
think they need the job descriptions for
whatever
WordCamp
that is.
in the handbook
You can walk over that
Oh.
table and be part
for the roles,
alongside
the
people
speaker
who make
wrangler, blah, blah, blah.
I love
Yeah.
this concept, and it's one of the most powerful things in the world, that with every bit of technology that you interact with every day, someone made that.
Yeah.
And with WordPress, which many of you interact with every day, it's probably someone sitting here in this room.
I know. Yay!
So go by
Let's
the
get applause
in this
for that.
room?
to get involved.
Yeah,
Another fun thing is
I should have got applause.
the Gutenberg plugin is still there. So when people upgrade to 5.0, we
It has a lot of
turn
one-star
off the
ratings.
Gutenberg plugin for
It
them.
sure does.
automatically.
They need to turn off their ratings.
But about 275,000 people have turned it back on. This means that they are getting those weekly or fortnightly updates to the Gutenberg
Fortnightly?
before
Fortnite?
those things get
Yeah,
shipped in
that's
the
right.
core.
No,
So
Fortnite.
if you would like to see
Fortnite.
the greatest of what Gutenberg could be, and there's a very active feedback channel there for reporting bugs. Basically, if you'd like to help define what's coming next in core Gutenberg, install this plugin. It's also neat because it kind of gets you the latest and greatest before the core release comes out.
Install it on a
We've
Steam
also been doing a lot of
local
experiments with beta plugins to allow us to test
server.
features before they go into core. And one that's
Don't
pretty
install it on
small,
production,
a
people.
little over 100 sites running it. But I'd like people to
Yeah.
check out and participate with is design experiments.
I
So this is
think
where
so.
we're actually able to make user interface changes to WordPress.
That's kind of cool.
What happened?
I don't know, but Patricia Shelter says, this is the best way to watch this. Thank you, too. Aw. The internet broke. Dar, 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 dar.
You don't really know, despite
that'll
whatever planning
Is that
that you might do,
Yeah.
you don't know how people are going to
Can you
use
hear
and
him?
interact with the software.
Yeah.
So it's really, really important.
Very good.
I want to highlight this fun tweet from someone who actually reinstalled the Gutenberg plugin. This is Hannah Smith said, installed the Gutenberg plugin today, which upgrades the features that ship with core. I wanted the cover block and I was curious to check it out. OMG, exclamation point, exclamation point. It's like 1,000,000 times better. If this stuff goes in the core, we're all in for a treat. Well done to all the contributors. So
Heart.
be like Hannah.
Aww.
There are 3 exclamation points in this tweet, which is pretty impressive for 280 characters. That's a high percentage of exclamation points to the rest of the characters in the tweet.
Weirdo, why are you talking about explanation points?
We need more blocks. So
We need more blocks.
one of the most exciting ways to expand the
His slides are way
window of
better
what
this
people are
year.
able to do with WordPress today
Yeah, they're
is
pretty
creating
nice.
more of those blocks. So
Really
if you're
nice.
building sites for clients or friends or yourself, and you find yourself needing something that Gutenberg doesn't yet support, and you have the technical wherewithal, you've learned JavaScript deeply and are able to build it, share that, please. Particularly if it's JavaScript only, you can go in our block directory. As the blocks increase, it's almost like the people using the canvas of WordPress are getting new colors and textures and paintbrushes they can use.
Oh, the
and the things that
colors
get created
of
are
the
so
wind.
inspiring. Also, if you have that
Hey,
technical
Pocahontas.
wherewithal or know a lot about WordPress, think about helping teach to change. So
Yes,
every single
teaching
person who
needs to
contributes to
happen.
WordPress pretty much at some point had someone else help them get involved. That's part of why we have the contributor days. It's part of why we make all of our meetings open on Slack and put out all the notes on P2 and just try to have hold development of WordPress be as open as possible. Is that teaching aspect. It's really one of the only places in the world as well you can sort of work alongside developers who create the software that runs a third of the web. And so if you wanted to learn better PHP or better
prefer to build your own
JavaScript, I
thing
can
than
think
use
of no better kind of masterclass or real world studio with which to do that. If you're interested in learning more, hopefully you made it to the Get Involved booth, which was here at the event. But if not, come to Contributor Day tomorrow. Someone will be happy to walk you through things. Or check out make.wordpress.org. because we all make WordPress together.
Good job.
Sharing your knowledge can also come through events.
I wish
and
you'd done
meetups.
that like 2 years ago.
This is a map of all the meetups happening all over the world.
That's nice.
Looks like even Greenland.
Why are people clapping? Like, they get a clap person. I used to do that clap person. I started the
Not
clap.
Iceland, though. Come on, Reykjavik. What's going on?
Come on, Reykjavik. It's too
As
expensive
you can
to
see,
live
all
there.
over the world, there is probably a WordPress meetup near you. And if there's not, like let's say you're in Iceland, you could start one.
Oh my God.
And these are really, really fun ways to bring community together and also allow you to experience the best part of WordPress, which is the people. The software is pretty good, but the people are amazing.
Woo!
In 2020, we're also going
Come
to
for the WordPress, stay for the people.
redo our regional events, WordCamp US and WordCamp Europe. And we're going to add a new one, which is WordCamp Asia for the first time.
Nice.
These regional events are fantastic for bringing together contributors in particular. So you get a lot of the local WordCamp organizers, a lot of the meetup folks come to these regional WordCamps and can really share and learn at a very, very high level. I believe WordCamp Asia will be in February, and this first year will be in Bangkok, Thailand. So if you've ever wanted to visit there, good excuse to. And WordCamp Europe is going to be Porto. Oh my God, that's right.
He doesn't know where it's going to be.
I love Porto. Porto in Portugal, also where port is from, if you ever enjoyed a good port. Check that out. And WordCamp US will be right back here in St. Louis. I might need to come a week early just to go to like City Museum every day. I did not realize there was a roof, which makes me wonder. I was kind of wondering with my sister actually. Makes me wonder how many floors in between where I got to and where the roof was that I missed. Oh my goodness. We've apparently had more social media posts and tweets and Tumblr posts and WordPress blog posts, everything this WordCamp than we've ever had. And I've been following it as well, the WC US tag. And it's been really, really fun to just kind of live vicariously parts of this event I was at but did not see.
They're doing that.
Why are we doing all this? We're trying to help open the web.
Yeah.
There is a very natural pendulum that swings both in societies and technology and in the web between open and closed. And as it swings back towards open, it doesn't happen for free. It doesn't happen automatically. It happens through a lot of hard work. People like here in this room, creating the type of web that we want to live in, and we want the people going to kids' camps and their children to live it. We are putting together for WordPress two final things that I'm going to plug. First is now on WordPress.org/news. We are doing our annual survey, which is a very exciting way to show for our corner of the web what is going on and the technologies and things that are happening. We're also translating this into, I believe, 6 or more languages.
Cool.
So we'll be able to, for the first time, or for better than we have in the past, get feedback from the non-English parts of WordPress as well. And then finally, a little surprise announcement is you saw a lot of talk for 5 for the future. Just to briefly reiterate, 5 for the future is this idea that if WordPress is a big part of your life, try to think how you can take 5% of your time, however that might be defined. It could be money, resources, colleagues, whatever it could be.
Podcasting.
Put back into the comments so that the kind of core WordPress, which is again built largely by people here in this room, can grow and get better and be something that sort of we can benefit from and future generations can benefit from too. So if you wordpress.org/5, you can type the number or spell it out. We now have a directory. This actually, I believe, came up in a question maybe last year. It might have been WordCamp US over here, which is there a way we can highlight the people who are contributing the 5 for the future? So what this allows is either for individuals or organizations to pledge and show everything they are sort of pledging into WordPress, and you can browse them. And then, of course, if you are ever trying to hire an agency or web host or something like that, definitely take a look at the 5 page to see which organizations are giving back to WordPress. And try to vote with your wallet to support the folks who are really making sure that WordPress can continue for many years and decades.
One of my family members probably started watching Netflix.
Actually, wait. There's one more thing.
Oh, come on, dude. Can't do one
Y'all
more.
ready for this?
Columbo on us.
So, this entire presentation was actually in Gutenberg. This was all on a web page.
Where are you going to share the slides?
And in fact, the speaker view, which I'll bring over here, is another web page. And this was all edited. Let's see if I click this, what will happen. All edited inside of WP admin through Gutenberg.
That's fancy pants.
You made your slides at Gutenberg.
Also,
congratulations.
Kind of amazing it didn't break, right?
That's telling.
Let me make this full screen again.
Oh, here we go.
Bring this window back.
Do you know how to get back to your
Presenter,
slide?
speaker view. I'll bring that back. Full screen. And this code is all on GitHub. We'll be releasing it. And can we give a quick round of applause for stand up if you were working on this? Ella, Mel, Mark, Andy.
These are long slides for Gutenberg, actually.
There was so much code happening till about 25 minutes ago. I am impressed and amazed that came together so well. So congratulations on that. All right, now really we can go to question and answers. So just a quick sort of guidelines for here. We'll have 2 mics up here in the front, so you can kind of walk up and line up, and we'll get to them. A light will briefly shine on you when you're going to ask your question.
Will Morton ask a question?
Say your name, where you're from, and try to make it a question.
Try to make it a question.
Hello, Matt. Ryan Kinney from Miami.
Oh, Ryan.
As a volunteer, speaker, organizer, and contributor that passionately supports WordPress and our shared mission to create a more open and accessible web, I'm concerned because I don't believe that we currently have a stated accessibility policy, community code of conduct, conflict of interest policy, code of ethics, diversity and inclusion policy, or privacy policy. Between the foundation and, so my question is 2-part. The first is, between foundation and the project, who would be responsible for assisting us in creating and enacting those policies? And the second part is, how as we as a community, how can we help make this happen and try to enact some of these policies over the next 12 months?
Dang, good question.
Yes, girl! Yes! Yes, girl! Yes!
One thing, I do think we do have some of those policies in place. Definitely we have a privacy policy. So we do have some of those already. Maybe we need to make them more discoverable.
Yeah, I don't believe that they're published. I'm a core contributor for privacy, and we've been working as a team on it, but I don't believe that it's been finalized and published yet.
Well, let's make sure. It should be in the footer of WordPress.org. But I believe we've had one of those for a little while.
Really?
For the others, I would say that the first priority is always making sure that what the purpose of each of those policies is that WordPress is embodying. And I'm very proud with the improvements we made to all those areas in the past year and beyond, especially particularly accessibility. And that is in spite of there being a policy or not. We've tried to enact bigger changes in WordPress in a policy-first way in the past. To be honest, it felt nice, but it didn't always make things actually change.
Right.
So when we've said every commit must be XYZ or something like that, or just maybe had it as a broad policy, like I think we did one for accessibility on the theme directory once, didn't have the same impact as when we actually built the tools or worked alongside folks to make the changes. So I do think about that. I also think about how can we make all of these policies that be about things that we want people to do, not all negative framing. It was pretty noticeable when you came in here. Some of you might have noticed like the first 3 things you saw when walking into WordCamp US were like costumes, weapons, and a code of conduct. It's like, whoa. Like the little placards for those following along at home, they're like big.
It's on Halloween.
Placards saying what wasn't allowed mostly. I think we've always done really well in WordPress where we don't try to enumerate every possible thing we don't want people to do, but really talk about the principles of what we want to create together. And I would love for us to also evolve how we present ourselves at WordCamps to incorporate more of that.
What does that mean?
Well, thank you.
2 people. That's like.
In terms of those other policies, let's talk
people.
about tomorrow at Contributor Day. So we can sort of dial in which ones are there versus not and talk about what might be a good process for getting the rest out there.
Perfect. I look forward to that. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you so much. See you then.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to bounce to the left.
Hi, I'm Alicia from Canada. And I was just really happy to see
Hello,
a number of
Alicia.
security talks this year. And there was one this morning on auto updates where I learned that there's like 80,000 plugins now for WordPress, which is awesome. But I work for Security, and we know that a lot of sites get hacked through plugin vulnerabilities, not through core vulnerabilities.
Right.
So I'm curious about the future of auto updates for plugins. But my main question is, most users don't know this. So how can WordPress and the community better inform administrators, or maybe even email, somehow notify them about security risks of delaying plugin vulnerabilities, the potential risks of breaking sites with auto updates, and some alternatives like virtual patching?
Yep. That is a super good question. And one of the things that is one of the 9 focuses for the year, I think it is super, super, super important. We're laying some groundwork. So like that admin email I just showed will allow us to we want to use that to message people, not just about core like we traditionally have, but also about the plugins they're using. So that is part of the reason for getting that in. And sometimes we have to build the foundation before we build the house on top of it. So that was one of the things that we realized we didn't really have a good up-to-date version of. Over time, very much the hill or the mountain we're trying to climb in the distance is that you just log into WordPress and it's safe, secure, and you get the latest and greatest. And you shouldn't have to think about whether something's a plugin, whether it's in core, whether it's part of your theme, whether you customize your theme, but then there's a security update to a different part of it. Like we need ways to handle all of these possible cases and update, at least for those sites that allow us to, right? Set the file permissions as such, as many sites on the web as possible.
Which
I would like to call out and thank the web host here. So almost every major web host, certainly all the ones that we promote, do automatic updates of core for both major and minor releases. And that's been fantastic both for us, because that means people are getting the latest and greatest WordPress, but also for them, because that means the sites are less likely to get hacked or compare a 4-year-old version of WordPress to like today's proprietary alternative. The other thing that I'm starting to see more adopt, we do this on WordPress.com, lots of other hosts are starting to do it too, is auto-updating those plugins. So if you're a web host and you're not auto-updating plugins yet, figure out how to make that opt-out and get as many of your sites on the latest versions as possible. It is true that most vulnerabilities we've seen, and certainly the ones that have affected most sites, have been in plugins and themes. And themes are particularly hairy, right? Because people might have customized the code there. But it's all just code. And so for sites that give us the permission to modify these things by the file permissions, I think that we'll be able to tackle it. It is really, really impressive what we already have. I know for those of you who are at the auto update panel, we had Nathan and a few others there. We forget that it wasn't that long ago, 5 or 6 years ago, that everyone had to update their WordPress manually. And we now get over a 99, usually 99.9, 99.5 auto update rate. And allows us to get usually like 60% plus of the WordPresses in the world on the latest version within a few weeks, which is not as good as iOS, but way better than Android. So as a true platform, which WordPress really is, it is the operating system for the web that's going to power so many things that we know now and so many things we can't even imagine yet. It's really, really important that we invest in that auto update mechanism.
Thank you.
So thank you. So a great place to contribute, especially if you work on security stuff. Over here.
Yeah. Hi, Matt. My name is Monika. I'm from Joost and from the Netherlands. And so at Joost, we're really into Gutenberg and we're making Gutenblocks. We have a lot of schema updates in Gutenberg. But our research shows that only half of our customers use the block editor. And that's hard because that means that we have to basically maintain 2 products.
That's what
and I'm wondering if you know how we can convince more people to start using the block editor. Because there is a lot of negativity surrounding it, and we're trying to be supportive, but it's hard to get there.
And I saw you post some of these stats.
Yes, it was the post with the most comments we ever had.
I believe you're assuming that every user of Classic plugin is not using Gutenberg, correct?
No, we did research within our audience and asked them, what are you using, Classic or the block editor? And half of them answered, we use the Classic editor.
So more of a survey?
Yes. Yes, I know surveys aren't all, but still it shows that a lot of people aren't using it. And
so we have about, just by the numbers,
I can't believe
like I said, almost 3 times as many are using Gutenberg than not.
That's kind of BS.
So we think only about 25% are kind of using the Classic editor of people who have updated, and not all of those are using the Classic editor all the time. Some of them are switching between Gutenberg. So it's 25% or below that are still on there. I think the way that we get people on is first improving Gutenberg. Right? There's been so many changes. If you're one of those people who's not on Gutenberg yet, that's okay. We're still making it better. But I'd encourage you to take every couple months, like every 2 or 3 months, every major WordPress release, try it out again and see if the things that frustrated you have been addressed. 2, I think it's blocks. So you notice how on that tweet, Hannah talked about how I really want this cover block. I do believe that block first adoption will really help things. And so
does he include
for example, in
WordPress.com
Yoast,
in this as well?
Just making things up, like let's say you had a really cool new feature that was Gutenberg only, that would be a great reason for people to upgrade. Though I say that knowing that y'all have done as much to contribute to Gutenberg as like anyone else in the world. So actually a quick round of applause, because pound for pound, Yoast gives more back than almost anyone.
Yeah, we have 8 people working full time.
Yeah. As CEO, I know a lot of that's due to you, so thank you.
Thank you.
So I think that is what's going to drive it along. But also, let's recognize that we're only a year in. We've got 75%. That last 25% will it'll be like a parabolic curve. But I do think that, we still have 10% on versions prior to 5.6 of PHP. So I do think that will kind of asymptotically approach like 85, 90%. And that's the point when as plugin developers, I would say you can really focus on Gutenberg first for everything.
I just hope you're right.
I would be very surprised. We'll check this next year. We can update all these stats. I'd be very surprised if not 90% or more of all new posts going in WordPress next year were Gutenberg. So
Thank you.
But we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Right? Because think of it, also some of the stuff coming around the corner, like real-time co-editing. Right? I could see that being a really compelling feature for people that'll help them make the leap to Gutenberg. And of course, in Gutenberg, you can still use a classic block. So you can actually still have almost exactly the same interface inside of Gutenberg. So there's lots of reasons.
No, you can't.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much.
It makes a block for every paragraph.
Let's check time.
I can't
Hello,
even.
I'm Milena Zap from Serbia. So I'm raised
Lily, I love her.
Communism, and now we try
For
to
women.
survive democracy. And
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, the second part.
So looking at open source project, the idea to me is closer to communism, but I wouldn't advise applying that.
Right.
But also, democracy doesn't work. So I'm thinking,
Democracy doesn't work.
So my question is, looking at WordPress, I don't see any system there. And I wonder, when will we see
governance,
something that we can identify as a system for making plans, making decisions, what are the names, something like that.
I love her so
That's a
much.
good question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I'll take at face value all your value statements on different political systems.
Since she
and
lived
so
under
that
it.
WordPress is going to look different, and maybe
Right.
none of the political analogies directly apply because it is software.
No,
And
it's not
so-
software. It's a
Other
project.
open source project that have some kind of system.
Yeah.
And it works.
I think we should call what we do the WordPress system.
Okay.
To be honest, like
When will we see it?
It was actually one of the. I know the WP governance project kind of fizzled out, but one of the great outcomes.
No, it didn't.
It kind of documented how decisions get made. The team structure.
No way.
It did not fizzle out.
The good news is that.
Oh my God.
You know, basically everything except, like choosing the jazz name for a release happens in a Slack or P2 or GitHub or Track channel somewhere. There's even, there's a contributor to WordPress who I was talking with, and they were like, what happened? The about page got made in like this secret process. I wanted to be part of it, and didn't realize that all just happened on Track. So almost everything you see happens as part of an open process. So there's a lot of transparency.
That
And
is
so
such a lie.
for the actual organizational structure, I think
Fizzled
that
out.
it's changed in the past. It will change in the future for depending on who's contributing, their strengths and weaknesses, and what all organizational structures are a series of trade-offs. So what we're trying to optimize for at the time. So prior to when I took back over kind of the lead role, we would say that for each release, there was a release lead that had ultimate authority, including over myself, for what was going to be in that release.
Really?
And the buck stopped there for everything. And what we were trying to do there was increase the sort of flexibility that release leads had, because we got into space where releases were a little more incremental and we want people to feel the autonomy to do bigger things. So I would say that kind of like an outfit you try on for different outcomes that you're looking for. And these different organizational structures will try different things for different parts of WordPress. The key that for everything we do, I think, will be that transparency.
Yeah.
And of course that we're open source at the end of it, so that the product is something just like that film was Creative Commons. That's so cool that whatever we create as a community is available to the community as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for the non-answer. Unbelievable.
We needed, if you have any good words for that
WPgovernance.com.
too, like what is kind of a transparent duocracy or something like that. All of these words have trade-offs. So
Hi, my name is Paul Wilson. I'm from Hawaii. I actually came here on another conference, but I think most of your Southern California Automatic employees were on my same plane.
Cool.
And I learned about this WordCamp, so I jumped over to here. So, but I teach digital entrepreneurship at a university in Hawaii, and WordPress historically has been the main thing that we go to. And so I have two questions that deal with that in particular. First is the bullet point, and I want to make sure I got it right from your presentation, implementing full site editing. That kind of slipped in there at the end. And I feel that's what's really been eating at WordPress's market share, as you have Wix, Weebly, all the other ones that I see my students gravitating more because they like the customization of being able to edit full site without being restricted to themes. And so my question on that one is, we've seen acquisitions in the past, such as WooCommerce, where you've brought them in, and we see tools like Divi, Elementor, PageLayer that already have all of that in place. Is that something that you guys would consider to help make it more competitive and make it more realistic for people that are just getting started, where they can customize without having to be locked in theme-wise?
Totally.
Interesting.
Oh my God, just
So
buy
a good way to look
Paper
at it, there's probably at least 25 that I looked at of these page builders that would each have its own data model, each way of doing things for solving this problem that you said. So part of why we started in Gutenberg was to provide them kind of like a common Rails that they could all build on top of. So page builders, I don't think are going anywhere. but they won't need to reinvent the wheel of the basics, like the core CMS stuff. That'll now be handled inside of Gutenberg. They can build on top of that and create lots of cool things outside of there.
Which they've always
The
been
full
able to
site
do.
editing is basically the realization of the original promise of Gutenberg, which is what we wanted to do was essentially flatten WordPress. Take all these different concepts that you would learn in different places around WordPress and make them all blocks. So you could learn a block once, knew that anywhere. And what we're doing with the customization phase is breaking out the post box. So right now, all those blocks we showed, by default, you can just have inside poster pages. We want you to have that in headers, footers, sidebars, wherever you want. So we're doing there to port things over. There's some more that needs to be done, like navigation block is still not finished. It's a very complex interaction. But certainly this time next year, and hopefully in the early part of next year, we'll have it so your students and yourself will be able to take, like I said, look at any site on the web and just using some blocks, maybe the 2020 theme, be able to recreate that. So that is 100% where we're going. We're not, as far as I know, not going to acquire any of these plugins, but you also don't need to, right? Because the plugins are going to continue, and they're now going to be able to move even
Buffering. Stop talking, Matt. That's what he needs in
and
his
work together
ear.
more, which is also something we hear users.
He needs a PR person
in
in
the past,
his ear.
like choosing one of these is almost like locking yourself in to a particular way of doing
way
things.
he's treated
If you want to
the-
use a different theme,
the
you're still
first,
locked in.
like,
So this is a very user-centric
women who
model of
ask
trying to
questions
solve this
terrible.
problem for the entire WordPress ecosystem.
So on the second,
We got people waiting, so we're
okay,
going to jump
can
to
I
some other
just
questions.
really quick on the, well, it's not a really quick question. I'll let you jump over.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hello, hello, and you've got the mic?
I
Perfect.
do. Hi, Matt. Michelle Ames from Give WP and WP Coffee Talk. And I would like to lighten this up for just a quick second and ask you a fun question. I ask every guest of my podcast, what's the biggest mistake you've ever made with WordPress and what did you learn from it? And what's your proudest WordPress moment?
The camera person's
Way
lost.
to plug her own podcast.
The biggest mistake is a longer story. But there was a hot notch, is what it was referred to. Hopefully, most people in the room haven't heard of it. A few have. But super early on with WordPress, it was basically unfunded. And I had like run out of money. We were hired a designer to redesign the logo. Actually, Jason, who did do the logo we currently use, but then ran out before he was going to do phases 2 and 3, which were redesigning the website and the WP admin. Anyway, long story short, like someone paid me to put these links on the website that were totally spammy. But it was kind of before web spam was a thing. And also might have inadvertently, like, didn't invent, but certainly popularized a way to hide content using CSS that Google was not yet aware of. And so that was definitely the worst thing I've done to WordPress and the web. My initial penance for that was good kismet. Which was to create something to fight web spam, especially once I understood what people were doing there. But then hopefully years of WordPress following that. And one of the proudest, I get incredibly proud every time we come together for these big WordCamps, US, Europe. And last year, having 5.0 ship and being able to talk about it and see how the community came together. And I mean, that really was the biggest change we made in our 16-year history. And this idea of going from kind of a document model to a block model of editing
is the biggest change. I've been saying
it's impossible to overstate how important that is to the future of WordPress.
Thank you for validating
seeing how that
me,
came
Matt.
together and how we iterated in public, how it was all that happened. Definitely one of my proudest WordPress moments.
Aw,
Thank
good
you.
question, Michelle. Finally, a woman not patronized by Matt.
Hi, Matt. My name is Wolf Bishop with WP Top Hat, and I live right here in Southeast Missouri.
Cool.
So kind of home for me. I'm going to kind of screw up the trend that she just tried to set up with a bit of a more controversial subject.
Okay.
One of the greatest things about WordPress is the fact that it's released under the GPL, which means we can use, redistribute, change plugins, themes, anything that's released under that license as much as we want, either for free or profit. And we love that about it. This has brought about a trend of a growing trend of companies known as GPL clubs, which redistribute plugins either free or for profit. And there's a lot of controversy in the community about this. Some people are absolutely for it, and others are definitely against it. And this kind of attitude is mixed between both plugin or developers as well as end users.
So
Developers
parodying
who are against
plugins.
it, same with end users. So I think the community might like to know, what is your official or unofficial opinion about these types of companies?
Sure. First and foremost, I'll say it's allowed by the license. So it's something that is, at least in all the cases I'm aware of, like, that's the license. When we create GPL software, explicitly with that freedom. And we couldn't prevent folks like that from doing it without taking a lot of freedoms away from everyone here in this room. So it's one of those uncomfortable, almost like the First Amendment in the Bill of Rights. Like, sometimes it's uncomfortable, but it's really, really, really important. My personal view on it is that, you know, the customers there will get what they pay for. Yes, they can get 100 plugins. Well, one, it's weird to pay for that in the first place if they're price sensitive. But they're not supporting any of those developers. They're seeing Fire for the Future in their own case by voting with their wallet for the software that they use. Support that. I mean, I've started now where stuff I don't even need to pay for, you know, donations or Patreons or stuff like that, just because I want to see more of it in the world. How you spend your money is just as important as how you spend your time and any other resource. Certain worldview, you're going to encourage more of whatever you're paying for to happen. So if you're seeing companies like some of the ones we've mentioned today that are giving a lot back to WordPress, doing a GPL, creating great user experiences, supporting Gutenberg, all that sort of stuff, even if you don't need to, maybe just pick up their yearly license or something and think of that as a way of supporting more of what you want to see in the world. And, you know, for these companies.
No.
I think it buffers every
Kind of
time
taking
they
lots
put
of people's
something
work,
you
but not really
shouldn't
giving
say.
much back. Either it's those core things or
Buffering. Buffering.
maybe.
I think it's safe to say that I'm from a different generation from most of the people in the room. So my question to you is, how do you think WordPress
That's David Bissett's brother.
It's either how do you think WordPress is going to be adapted by the next generation of kids in K through 12 schools? Or how do you think you're going to change WordPress so that way kids in K through 12 schools will want to learn WordPress and want to join the local WordPress meetups, like how they joined robotics and different things? Thank you.
Nice.
Yes, girl. Lemonade Code on Twitter. Lemonade.
Well, first, thank you. I believe, Olivia, you were one of the speakers at this WordCamp, right?
Yeah.
Very modest.
She was on a panel.
So the example that you're setting is something that inspires. So this is going to be on YouTube later, and boys and girls, maybe of your generation, will see you here asking a question, being a speaker at WordCamp in front of 1,000 adults. And, you know, it's kind of beautiful. When I got started with WordPress, I was 19. And you know the old comic in the New Yorker, like, on the internet, no one knows you're a dog?
Like,
I would think, like, it's great. On the internet, no one knows that I'm a 19-year-old kid in Houston who doesn't have a comp sci degree and, like, is learning to code. People just were looking at the code I was creating, and we started working together, and we're able to create something that became a community, became a product that powers a lot of the web, and that I'm still excited to work on every single day when I wake up. So those examples being out there, I think, really help. The HeroPress stories, we probably need some more younger folks on HeroPress. See Topher somewhere here. You know, just kind of get more of that out there. Kids camps, I think, will help. And finally, you know, we need to, well, this isn't finally, we need to make WordPress easier and more accessible. That will help with younger generations as well as older generations. And the last plug I'll put in there is, you know, something that happened this year was Automatic, which is my company, bought Tumblr. And we announced that we're going to switch all that to WordPress. So there's going to be 500 million more WordPresses in the world. Tumblr definitely has a younger audience
That's how they.
on it
No,
as
they
its
never
primary
did.
user
They
base.
never announced
And so
that.
I'm very, very excited as,
that.
you know, it's not going to be the first
Literally
year, but probably
announcing
second,
it now.
third year. As those become
No,
WordPress on the back
they
end,
were saying they weren't going to be.
Tumblr.com can be like a React front end talking to the WordPress API. And it can have a different user interface on top of that. And those folks, much like before WordPress, there's a generation that learned to code, you know, CSS from MySpace and things. Like, by going where there's a lot of youth activity happening already, and it's a pretty fun site as well. The customization and the path we have there could allow them to graduate to being WordPress and maybe graduate being someone as cool as you, talking at WordCamp someday. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You already did. How about nothing? How about the
Hi, Matt. Becky Davis from Chicago.
Becky?
And I've been doing this a long time. I have sites that are out there that are 6 and 7 and 8 years old, and I'm still maintaining them, and they have thousands and thousands and thousands of posts in multiple languages.
Huh?
And you want me to switch over to Gutenberg? Are you kidding me?
I do, but you don't have to.
Right. So my real question is, I've heard rumors that the classic editor is going to die in the future. Please tell me that's not true.
What did we officially announce for a classic editor? 2022?
Officially announce?
Yeah, that's not cool.
Wow.
I love you, Becky.
There's a lot going to change between now and 2022
I
in the
get it.
world in general. Like we'll all be like doing WordCamp on holograms or something. But
Not in 3 years, you
so
weirdo.
I think it went from Gutenberg release. We said 4 or 5 years that we announced at that point that we were going to continue maintain the classic editor plugin. In reality, in open source, when things have usage, it gets maintained. And so if classic editor still has a couple million users by 2022, guess what? It's going to keep going. Guess what? We're going to still work on it. If it makes you feel any better, again, but we don't want to promise that. It's just because that doesn't encourage what we want to happen, which is people start to adopt.
Matt, why don't you have a PR person?
You need a PR person so bad. Don't say that.
Design or something
Matt,
else.
you drive
That
me
could be an
crazy, my
opportunity
friend.
to
You
also
drive
bring
me
them over to
crazy.
Gutenberg. Or maybe
Why
that's
did you
something
say
their
that?
users or you as a developer want to bring in. Like I've definitely, by the way, I have WordPresses that
I
are
love
16
you,
and
Matt
17 years old.
Mullenweg.
And
You need help.
it's
We
been
need
kind of fun to go
intervention.
back and see like things that I used to have to custom code or have a lot of HTML and custom CSS. I can now recreate in Gutenberg. That's a little bit of work, but it's also really, it's kind of interesting and I learn as I do it. And I know it's going to be forward compatible because Gutenberg 100% is the future of WordPress. So if you were to ask me 20 years from now, is there still a classic editor? I mean, I hope not, but only because no one wants to use it. So sometime in between there, its usage will dwindle to the point where it'll maybe either be a niche plugin or not something officially supported. It's still open source, so that still means that people will be able to customize however they like.
Yeah.
There's people who only post to WordPress using a command line. So use that as an example of some pretty niche things
No
can
one's
still
doing
be
that,
actively
bro.
supported and maintained. But do
0.001% are
appreciate
doing that.
if
I know.
at some point in the
Rochelle
future,
on our chat is
you
saying,
take a look at
"Stop
Gutenberg
talking about the
again, and
numbers.
try it out.
Time to
I
fork
play with it
classic
on new
editor.
projects, but on projects with thousands of pages, how do I transfer that? There's no script for that.
We should make a script for that then. Thank you. All right, we'll do the last couple, maybe 2 or 3.
What's up, Matt?
Hey.
Hey. My name is Christy, and
Hey.
I have a question for
Other
you.
women question
You are a
that.
CEO, you know, or you have consultants that know that a key component of any successful project or organization is good stakeholder management. So this idea that in any group, we have a ton of people, and a lot of the time, most of the time, they have competing interests. If we have buyers and sellers, the buyer wants to get the most money, the
I
seller
guess
wants
it
to
has
get the
it
least
fizzled
money,
out.
and we have to find a place in between. I think we could argue that the WordPress open source project has even more stakeholders than the traditional corporate structure that maybe has employees, buyers, sellers, shareholders. I'm curious what we're doing in 2020 and beyond to bring all of the different people with different motivations together in the WordPress project to work towards a common goal. The questions that we see here demonstrate, I can probably list about 7 different kinds of stakeholders. Yeah, with different motivations, different incentives, different things they want to see. How do we get everybody working towards that same goal of what we saw in the video, which is making the project and the world a better place?
That is a good question.
Yeah, it is.
And I am
That is.
so relieved you defined what stakeholder management was. Because for a moment there, I'm like, man, I'm a terrible CEO. I have no idea what she means by that.
Why did
so.
you just say
You got to
that?
thank Andrew Nason for that one because he texted me and said,
Wow.
"What's your question?" And I said it, and he goes, "You got to define stakeholder management."
Oh,
That's so sad. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
yeah. So I'm maybe not the most corporate CEO. ever.
Automatic stock just
Uh,
went down.
In terms of,
I hope
I know,
so.
I know
but I
it's
do think
not.
about that problem quite
It's not a
which
public.
is there are so many people with different types of interests, different incentives, different motivations, different things that are important to them, special interest within WordPress. And, it can be cacophonous sometimes, right?
Cacophonous.
Like
Now
all the
I'm
voices
telling
in
you
the
I'm
room.
smart. Here's a
I also
word.
think it's part of what makes WordPress beautiful and exciting is that those voices occasionally come together and create like a chorus where we can all go in the same direction. We're never going to make everyone happy, and not everyone's ever going
I
to
love
agree with all of our
Jesus.
decisions. I'm sure there's many things I presented today that a lot of people would strongly agree with or say would be bad for the web,
Oh my
which is opposite of our
gosh.
goals. But what we do try to do is put our philosophy out there of what we're trying to do, the web that we want to see, and the things that are really core to us. That came up in an earlier question, things like transparency and open source. And then say, if those are also important to you, get on the bus and we'll take this journey together. If not,
We're
guess
trying
what
to
it's
get
open
on
for.
the
You can
bus.
still
We are
you can
trying
create
to
evil
get on the
press or
bus.
something.
That's the whole
And-
point. The bus has one chair.
Sure, it's open source. You can fork it, you can change it, you can take the code, you can not fork it, you can use it for whatever
What
purpose
our
you
way
like.
or fork is, what he's saying.
And so you're not forced, but if you do want to be part of this, what I would term more the community of people contributing to WordPress, we do have to think about how we present things. So it's state of the word, but it's also what happens at meetups, what goes on the blog, what gets translated into the 50 plus languages that WordPress is translated into. It very much is a global and multifactorial problem that is part of the fun of it. It's, I was listening to I think it was a podcast with, who's the guy that does the documentaries like Vietnam, jazz? Ken Burns,
Ken
right? The one that has the
Burns?
awesome
Oh
pan
my
effect.
God.
How cool that he has effects built into iMovie. Like, to be a director, to have that, your name and the effect someday. And he was talking about, they have this neon sign in their editing room. And I'm going to
Dang, Matt
butcher
knows how
it. I think
to
it said, it's complex.
His
spin some
brain
yarn.
exploded.
Because he covers these really
He
interesting,
didn't
rich
answer the question
stories.
at all.
And for everything, there's kind of a surface story, like the kind of tweet version that you can say about what happened in, something like the Civil War or music called jazz. But the reality is it's really, really complex. And I thought about getting like a neon thing that said that from my office after I heard that podcast. I think it was the podcast he recorded with Tim Ferriss, if you want to check it out. So thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Thank you for not answering it.
All right, next to last.
Hey, Matt. My name is Jeremy Ward. I'm a senior backend engineer with Web Dev Studios. And I was excited to see in your presentation today and was aware of the decision last year to upgrade the minimum version of PHP.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great to hear 83% adoption, I believe you said it was, on
83%.
WordPress 5.2.
So 83% of people on WordPress 5.2 are running PHP 7 or higher.
Right, exactly.
It's pretty cool.
And that's awesome. The goal for this year,
We
as
don't
I
get
understand it,
Twitter
was to get the minimum version of WordPress onto 7+. And of course, I think it's next month that security updates for 7.1 end.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering, if you can elaborate on like the 10%, the laggards, the ones that are still on the old versions, and the conversations that you are planning on having with web hosts to get them up to date so that we can push everything forward.
Sure. So one common bit of info that a lot of people don't know is that web hosts that were running older versions of PHP that the PHP project itself was no longer officially supporting were still getting backported security fixes, usually from third-party companies that they would subscribe to or things like that.
Well,
so although 7.0 will no longer
we
be
should
officially
talk
supported
about
by
that
the PHP
more.
project, it's a little bit like when we say we don't want to support old things. They just don't want to have to deal with it. They want to focus on making the new thing. But they're, web hosts often subscribe to services, and those people will still have PHP security updates. So it's not actually as end of life as a PHP project would like you to feel.
Yeah.
In terms of what we need to do to pick up those old people, not old people, people on old versions of, sorry, I made a generational mistake there. People on old versions of PHP is we got to work with the host. It's really something where you know, apart from a small handful that might be running like servers in their closet and on their home connection, like pretty much everyone runs WordPress on a web host, on a server image, on the great web hosts that sponsor WordCamps. And so one thing we're looking to start doing is start identifying which hosts or have those older versions and just use that to talk to them. They might not even know themselves that they still have 500,000 WordPresses still on PHP 5.6 or something. So if we can expose that to them and kind of offer the best practices of what we've seen folks do to upgrade. By the way, this is also an area where I've seen direct competitors, hosts that compete with each other for same customers, actually help each other out and open source their scripts and things that they use to do upgrades. Bluehost did some amazing stuff there. So we can bring these folks along, but it's not the end user that probably needs to hear it at this point because they've been seeing the notices and everything for a while now. It's that we need to start working with wherever they're paying to host their website.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. All right, and we're going to end on this one. I apologize. I know there's a few more questions, but I'm very cognizant of time. And for the folks that didn't get to it, come on up afterwards. I'm happy to talk to you.
So we're going to arbitrarily end at
You've got the last question.
41
Please
past
introduce
the
yourself.
hour.
You're the celebrity that was on that video, right?
Now I just want to go and
Oh.
curl
Yeah.
down somewhere because it's a bit embarrassing. Hi,
That's
Matt. My
another
name
woman.
is Francesca. I'm the WordPress
Francesca!
community manager at SiteGround, and right now I serve as the release coordinator for WordPress 5.3.
Woohoo!
Hopefully, yes,
November 12th, right?
November 12th. I'm just a shouty, bossy lady. Everyone else is doing the work. But one thing that I do, I
Not
also
bossy. You have executive management skills.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Finally,
Thank
somebody
you.
who doesn't patronize.
I'm also a good listener. So one thing that came up over this past few months in conversations with many different people involved in the release is that they feel it will be great to have a calendar of releases, a year-long calendar
Oh,
of
that would
releases.
be good.
So how
You're
do you
already
feel
planning it, you
about
might as
having
well.
a calendar for 2020 for the next, because you said yourself 3 releases at best every year. So how do you feel about having a calendar for 2020?
This is a good one to end on.
Ah,
Let's do it.
yes, yes.
Sure. Thank you. There's no reason not to. We do kind of a version of that early in the year.
Yeah.
So we might as well map it out. As long as people realize that those dates might move,
Well,
in the New Yorker, when they say the going ons about town, they're like, musicians lead complicated lives. Developers lead complicated lives. And some
it
things might
depends
move
who's
those.
bossing them around, you know.
Yeah, in Italy, the trains run on time.
Maybe the releases you lead will be super on time.
Who
So
knows?
We'll
We have
get
10
that in
days
there.
to see.
Place that we should have that, and we have had it a little bit more in the past. I guess we just fell out of updating it. Would be /about/roadmap, probably the best place for that.
Yeah,
And
that
it
is.
shows the dates of previous releases, the jazzers they chose, and then we've previously showed some of the updating ones, but I guess we fell behind there. So let's fix that up at Contributor Day.
Let's
that
do
will be
this.
done. As we wrap up, just very quickly, I would love to invite all the organizers for WordCamp US this year to the stage really quick. So if you were
Really
involved,
quick. 47 people on the stage. Really quick.
organizing, doing something,
That's a lot
coming
of
up,
work.
quickly.
quickly.
Maybe not too
come up.
quickly.
That wasn't organized.
We did,
Otherwise,
was it
they would be
WordCamp?
sitting in a
We did
circle.
have an injury when the organizers were coming up at a previous one. So come up carefully. Okay, come on. Keep going. All right, wait for everyone to get here. Oh, coming from this side too. Oh, okay.
Michelle Ames.
Oh my goodness. Look at this.
Jeez.
Is this the 47 that we talked about earlier? Just about. I'm glad we had it ramp. That's awesome. All right.
I'm glad we had a
one,
ramp.
but-
Did he just
so-
say I'm glad we had a
Can we do a quick
ramp?
round of applause for putting this together? Thank you so much.
Stop talking, Matt. Stop saying this on your mind. Oh my
Look at
gosh,
this.
Val, poor Val. Yeah, I see that. That's Val Vesta. We had an
And
injury.
all right, let's go. Thank you all so much for
All right,
an
let's
amazing
go.
State of the Word.
Come
I'll
on the
see you next
stage.
year.
Go home. Okay, well, there you have it. A lot of women asking questions. A lot of women patronized. I said that on Twitter. So
Yeah.
and then one of my friends, Shaylee, said, "What? I feel like he's doing okay. I thought it was way more awkward and uncomfortable last year." Philip Roth is saying, "Let's just enjoy the roast." No, but seriously, did they really say that they were going to convert all the Tumblr to WordPress? That's what I suspected he was
That's
doing.
what I heard.
But-
and that's what I've been talking about for a while now. It's like, did they just do the first part was let's just make it so that Tumblr uses WordPress authentication so that the numbers go up, which is like, it's like, acquiring a country and then saying all these people are part of our country. It's like, yeah, sure.
We
Okay.
just bought users.
Right. So the next piece of it is now that you've actually have acquired those people, how do you make them do it the WordPress way? And so, it's taking Tumblr, which I haven't used Tumblr in forever. I mean,
I've never used it.
in my 40s, like I don't have no business being on Tumblr, but taking Tumblr and turning it into, a Gutenberg enabled thing. I don't know.
I mean,
so yeah.
That's odd because I just wow, maybe we should. I mean, I don't remember him saying that. I remember me thinking that was going to be automatic, acquiring Tumblr. And I'm like probably doing the same thing you are. Like, where's that press release? Because it was on The Verge, but I don't remember them saying that that's what they were going to do. Is that they were WP Tavern says they were going to plans to rebuild the backend powered by WordPress.
Right. So I went and I put out the link to go to this particular episode that if you want to join us on the show and we can do like, I don't know, maybe like a half an hour or whatever, real quick. I don't know how long Bridget has until she needs to get out of wherever she's at, but
I got a half hour.
We can hop in and say hi. So if you want to hop in and say hi and maybe even talk with us a little bit about what's going on with this, that would be great.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, that was wow.
Links have been posted, so feel free to go take a look at that and try to see if you can talk with us a little bit. So yeah. I mean Matt needs a PR person in like the worst way possible.
In the worst way. I mean, seriously, like a pastor in the big churches where there's somebody in their ear. Like, he really needs to not say just whatever he needs preparation like a political candidate gets before a debate.
Right.
I'm being serious. Like, whether I agree with what he said or not, the fact of the matter is, I think that he's a cool person and he's still a human being, right? So as much as he pisses me off, because I think he was completely gaslighting people who are asking questions. And I have issues with how women are treated as much as people are like, oh, inclusive, whatever.
Right.
But at the same time, he literally needs a top political consultant to grill him. He needs Oppo research done, and he needs to be prepared for the state of the word. If WordPress is going to put on its big pants and a suit and tie and be 51% of the web, then that means Matt needs to learn what stakeholder management is, how to be a CEO, how to talk to people, how to prepare for these questions. Like, and I mean, you're getting people saying things that, like, if I were Christina Chirinos, I wouldn't have said, oh yeah, I asked Nathan and he said, you better define this. That was mean. Like, to me, I think that was mean.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm, I wouldn't have done that. I would have just said, hey, the real issue is not the stakeholders who are on the board of Automatic. The real issues are stakeholders who who donate their time like slave labor, right?
Yeah, he was confused what she meant by stakeholders, because stakeholders are it's not just, you're right, it's not just people that work for Automatic or just people that work for, it's more than that.
Yeah, it's the people who are building it, And then like Ryan Kinney, Ryan, because there's two Ryans and one is Rion and one is Ryan. Ryan Kinney tweeted later, she said, for clarification, when I asked about the privacy policy during State of the Word, I'm not speaking about the website privacy policy link at the bottom. I'm talking about policies for the open source project. What are our project policies regarding Slack, GitHub projects, WordCamps, etc.? And that's exactly what the WP Governance project is all about. And it is not fizzled out. I'm just okay, so half of me is like, Matt's an asshole. And the other half is, we can fix this, Matt. Like, please, Matt, if you're watching this or any of your people are watching this, you need Oppo research and a political consultant. Please. I'm like, my work depends on WordPress being a big boy in the big boy arena, right?
Yeah.
We need to, I mean, maybe I'll talk to Josepha, say, like, just DM her in Slack, but that was not a good State of the Word. I mean, he was more respectful in his answer to Morton than he was in any of those women. I mean, Marieke van Rot, the CEO of Yoast. Oh, what do you mean? You just asked your users? How do you know those numbers? We asked our users and they told us.
And then he goes,
it's just a survey.
It's just a survey.
Oh,
yeah, I'm sorry. She didn't use the analytics of Yoast to figure out how many people were doing this and this and that, like Jetpack does.
But the survey about how you're using WordPress, we want you to fill that out. So that survey matters, but the survey that Yoast, a company with over 5 million users, let's talk about sample size for a minute, okay?
Yeah.
The way he treated a female CEO, that was
a huge plugin.
100% unacceptable. I couldn't believe it. He goes, well, it's just a survey. And the way she handled it, I was pretty proud of her. Like, wow, because I would have been like, excuse me, this is going down. You and me, 5 o'clock, back alley, after school, in schoolyard.
Yeah.
That, and Michelle said it in our chat. It's gaslighting. It's total gaslighting.
Totally.
It's 100% gaslighting. It's really sad, but I mean, I'm excited about some of the things that are happening. I'm glad that you can build your slides and whatever. Who cares? I don't know. I feel like maybe this was just a really hard year, and they just had to put ingredients.
Yeah. Hey,
Various
on.
What's up?
Hey, you're famous from the
I can't believe it.
What are your thoughts about what he said, Various?
I was just catching up. I was catching the broadcast on a delayed basis, so I haven't seen the entire thing yet. So I honestly, I was watching the replay right now. I just got into Starbucks. Well, tell me about what all he said, because so far he's just recapping from what I've seen. He's just recapping Gutenberg, and he just got finished reading some mean tweets about Gutenberg. That's all.
You haven't gotten to the good stuff yet, then. Various.
Oh no!
You need to skip forward to the questions, because that's all that really matters.
Well, I mean, tell me, I'm okay, and if it ruins it, it's fine. I'll go back and watch it still. But what did he say? What happened?
There were a lot of women speakers, questions who gave questions, including Ryan Kennedy.
Oh,
Ryan
nice.
Kennedy, asked about policies regarding how we decision in the governance. That Christy Torino asked the same question in a different way.
Okay.
Becky Davies from Chicago asked if they're really going to abandon the classic editor plugin in 2022, because she's built and maintained for the last 5 years, continuously maintained. They have thousands of blog posts. There's no way that can be converted to Gutenberg without breaking.
Dang. Yeah.
And he was like, I don't know, maybe. I mean, if there's users, I guess we'll do it.
That's crazy. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Now it sounds like to me, you know how you have migration type software.
Right.
If a really clever plugin developer could come up with a migrator, it could help ease the burden. I mean,
Well,
it
she
wouldn't.
said there's
It
no
wouldn't be
script for that, and he said, well, just write one.
that. I mean, I know that's probably not the best answer.
That is definitely not the best answer.
Dude needs, with all my heart, he needs a Corey.
Corey.
What's up, Corey?
What did you think? What are your thoughts, Corey?
Oh, she's frozen up. We'll give her a minute. Let's see if she can, if her internet can catch up.
All right. Yeah, that's. I'm gonna go back and catch all of it, all the drama afterwards.
Okay.
Hey, Corey.
We want to hear what we're curious what she has to say.
Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you.
We can hear you. Go for it.
Yes.
Hey, mute. Various, can you mute real quick?
Yeah, let me mute. Hold on.
Oh, so I was in the room watching it unfold.
Nice.
You know what's interesting about it is the start of it really focusing on community. I think was pretty fantastic. Truthfully, I thought it was nice that it was called a documentary. It didn't really tell backstory; just kind of told story about the community. But whatever, it's cool. More new faces. I think that would have been cool to see, but it's still nice to hear from folks about the community and just talking about how it any sort of competition. It's all about collaboration. I mean, that's something I love seeing, and that's actually what my talk was about community and growing a healthy community. A great. So that was off to a good start, and then the nosedive happened for me. I mean, then we go down the Gutenberg trail again. It's like, oh my God, death by blocks. Here I go. Where I landed on everything, I'm just like, oh my God, I checked out. I'm on my Twitter feed at that point. I'm checking Instagram. I'm booking a flight home, literally.
Booking a flight home.
I mean, and last year, as we all sat through the fiasco of the rollout, and everybody literally sat in the state of the word with panic mode, trying to get on their laptop. We're live. So, just they were sitting there hacking and working, and we're all facing this Gutenberg block thing. And then we come in here again this year. It is 10% gained, right? We were at 10% last year. Now we're at 20%. And, I'll take little, even a step forward is progress. But I'm still looking at things where I'm not, I'll be honest, my agency has not bought all in for it. And so that's where I'm at with things. I'm looking at Matt going, okay. Plugins off the top of my head that can do that better. Sorry, I'm glad that we've had steps forward, but that's kind of where I'm at. Going, really, again, this is the thing. I've heard this last year.
Yeah,
Corey, that was super frustrating to hear with that, and it's we were just talking about this a minute ago before you hopped on, that Bridget and I both think that there's a little bit of a PR element that has been missing over the last couple of years in these talks that he does, especially when you get into the question and answer pieces of it. When you have someone who isn't in the thick of it like we are, of either running agencies, building stuff, doing podcasts, putting out videos, doing whatever it is that we're doing, and we're just flying around everywhere, going to all these meetings and getting involved in all the stuff that WordPress itself is doing as its own organization. It's really difficult for someone to have kind of the kind of like the boots on the ground understanding of what's actually happening with the product that they're producing themselves. And man, that's a tough one. So when you hear these questions that come up on the screen and from people in the audience, and he's not really prepared to answer the question right, and And a lot of the time he's spending a lot of time like kind of vamping to get to a point where he can actually answer the question. Man, it's tough. Like I mentioned, one of the things that they may want to think about doing is a confidence monitor in the back of the room. You know, get like 100-inch TV in the back of the room that just has the question of what the person wrote and, you know, what the person asked. That way he can remember what the question is, because it seems like he spent a lot of time just answering a question that wasn't asked. And that makes it really difficult.
That is difficult. I mean, to be a speaker and to know what that's like, you know, all of us have stood in front of an audience and been put on the spot, and you're kind of like choking and you're trying to think, what is the PC way to answer this? And then you're talking about is a great crutch that I would even enjoy having, right? Something there to just make me feel like, oh, let me bring my mind full circle back to and be certain that I'm giving this person. So I just want to connect with you right now and not get lost in the lights, in the fact that I'm live streaming, and the fact that I've got 2,000 people sitting in front of me. And I just want to that you're giving me with this question. It deserves a straightforward answer. And if I'm willing to stand in front of a crowd and say, I'm going to take live Q&A, I better be ready to be like, all right, let's be transparent.
Yeah, and that's what Bridget was alluding to earlier, in that that he needs to have someone who's just going to dump like the top 50 questions on him, and he's going to have to answer them right then and there. And then if he doesn't answer them appropriately, then they need to come up with whatever the corrections need to be to kind of make those all work out.
Yeah,
I will say, don't you dare put your answers on that confidence monitor in the back of the room, because at that point you're just a puppet. That's a totally thing. That's something you don't want. Like, we have the benefit of having Matt being able to answer these questions. There's good benefits to that. But I think if he's answering the questions, but he's not necessarily answering a really good question, like it's a really good question asked, but he's kind of just dancing around it, then he's not prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's not walking around the show floor the whole day, like shaking hands and saying hi to everybody. He's off in some room in the back, and he could be taking some time to get that part of it prepared as well.
Oh no, weeks ahead, like months ahead, just like political candidates. And one of the best, regardless of what you think and where you lean politically, was Bill Clinton. He answered the question the way he wanted to answer it, and he did it in a way that you were glad he answered it that way, right? So like, there's a little bit like, if you're gonna be this, like if we're gonna be this, you know, project with this kind of influence, then he needs to learn PR deeply. Love you, Matt. I know I'm on the 86th list, but
no more Christmas cards for you, girl.
Oh yeah, I've been on there for a long time, but like that, I'm glad I'm not the only one who saw it, Corey.
Aw, I'll probably be on the chopping block next, but you know, I mean, you know what I do respect about Matt is that he does make himself vulnerable, and he is willing to get on that stage and be accessible to us to an extent, right? To be available to us. And I personally, I think that was one of the most amazing things I thought about the community is, wow, you know, here's Matt. He is walking amongst us. He is getting up there. He is opening up the microphone, allowing us to come in and put him on the spot, put him in the hot seat. And you know, I think we did it pretty well this year. I think there were some great questions that were presented that challenged him and made the audience go, oh yeah, and made the audience go, that was my question too. I'm glad somebody spoke up, and we feel like we're all connected in this kind of questioning moment of, come on, Matt, you know, what's next? We're anticipatory. We're excited about the new year. I think a lot of us are excited about what is coming in the new year. So I feel bad, you know, as a speaker, I feel bad to see somebody be put on the spot and kind of roasted, to your point, Jason, right? Who would sit back and watch the roast happen. But at the same time, he's used to it, I would suppose.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine the pressure, you know? I mean,
Yep.
I can imagine, well, I mean, yeah, if I was up there, I might respond similarly. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not, he chose this. He chose to be the head of Automatic and the head of the WordPress project. He could easily step down from the WordPress project and allow somebody else to be head of it. But you know, you want to swim with the big fish, you got to be with the sharks.
Listen to you, Bridget. I love it.
What a saying. I mean, seriously. True.
Done it. Done
Trouble.
it.
Thank you.
I mean, this is the first year I didn't get a question from Morton, but that's because Morton's stepping down.
He doesn't want to be chief question asker, you
No,
know?
because Morton announced at Pressnomics, I was there,
Yeah.
that he's walking away.
Wow.
And he's personally onboarded over 1 million people to WordPress. And he said that he went to his therapist and said, "How do I deal with this?" And she goes, "But it's not your responsibility, you know. You know, it was too much stress in his life to be continuous." I was really like, you know, he said the the governance project fizzled out. It did not fizzle out.
Yeah, that was.
It's still alive, and it was
What
originally
happened to
part
it?
of it was originally part of the WordPress project, and then he would not sanction it as part of Make WordPress. So then they did
Right.
WPgovernance.com. It's still active. It's still happening. And based upon some of the things I saw at Pressnomics, I would not be surprised if there is a class action lawsuit coming his way because of the conflict of interest that comes with being in charge of the WordPress project and Automatic. There's a lot of gray areas with some things, and there was some they weren't allowed to record anything at Pressnomics, but all I'm going to say is, wow, there's some people that aren't really that happy, and he should be glad none of those people asked. Well, Ryan's the first question. She's been doing some research on public documents that are available, and she's a lawyer. That's all I got to say about that.
That's very fascinating.
We're gonna call this deep query.
Deep query.
I mean, it's not drama when there's IRS implications. And so one of the things Ryan talked about at Pressnomics was the fact that some people in Florida asked her for an agreement for a release for the kids camp, for the babysitting and the kids camp. And there is no person there's no legal entity that is allowed to sign that document, because WordCamp Miami or wherever, Orlando or wherever they were doing, is not a legal entity. It's an event from the not even from the WordPress Foundation. It's part of the WordPress project, whatever their it's like one of those B Corps, I think. I forgot it.
Public Benefit Corporation.
Yeah, Public Benefit Corporation. But so they, that needs to be signed off by them. And so there's it's great that we're having kids camps, but as somebody who used to teach Sunday school in church, I had to be fingerprinted by the FBI to be a Sunday school teacher. Is that right? Okay, so and you work for a church
so difficult.
Well,
you're dealing with minors.
Yeah, I had to get LifeScan when I was working with
LifeScan.
When I was working with the kids at FutureLink, while I was teaching at a technology center. They do the LifeScan. So, yeah.
So there's insurance issues, there's liability. So because there's liability, there's insurance. And if there is no official organization who's in charge of that, then how do you have it? It's great that we have kids camps. And this is why I told our organizers at Orange County, I said, are you kidding me? I would love to teach WordPress to little kids. I love little kids, but you cannot do that. It's a insurance liability. And I didn't even think that there was no organization, but she's been doing the deep dive. So I just pay attention to that. It's not anything she didn't say. It's not anything anybody can't find on the internet, because everything with these corporations is public.
What do you think are the ramifications? You're talking about all this legal stuff. What could be possible ramifications towards the open source aspect of WordPress?
If it were me, and I did want to be a lawyer on TV, if it were me, I would be getting the big hitters in WordPress, Bluehost, GoDaddy, WP Engine, etc. And I would be doing a class action because they're based upon the fact that the WordPress Foundation has a benefit of using the WordPress logo and trademark the only one, and that is basically using, and then just because it's under the GPL, there's still an advantage with some travel benefits and things like that for automaticians. So like when he said they're almost all volunteers, they are volunteers technically, but there are people who are sponsored to work on the WordPress project, and they have more advantages than people like me who literally donated 2 years at 10 to 20 hours. You know what I'm saying? So like, in order to have an influence on the way WordPress is going, companies like Yoast have to have 8-member teams full-time working on Gutenberg. Bluehost has a whole division, you know, and they're a global sponsor, and there's all this money that comes in, and there's some, you know, kind of conflict. Basically, it's a conflict of interest, and there's unfair advantage to Automatic as a corporation for the Automatic is the sole corporation who is allowed to use the WordPress trademark under the WordPress Foundation, and there are several automaticians who are on the board of both. So it's an unfair advantage.
Do you mean like competition business wise, or okay?
And how they write stuff off. Like the WordPress Foundation is a foundation, so it's a nonprofit. If you get to the nonprofit, then it's a tax deduction and blah, 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 like whatever. But so if they have swag and those kinds of things, that's a business write-off if it's a nonprofit. But GoDaddy doesn't get to write off their swag because it's a marketing thing. It's not a donation. I mean, they can write it off in other ways, but it's not a donation.
Yeah.
Sponsoring WordCamps is no longer a donation because it's a B Corp. It's not a nonprofit. The WordPress Foundation solely exists to protect the trademark and logo.
Bridget, I'm going to need you to stop right there. This is going too far. This is just too much. You're unraveling all of our masterminding plans, all right? Stop.
Stop, drop, and roll.
You know, well, you know, and we're practically getting into a whole nother episode of the show that we should definitely circle back around to, Bridget, and talk about. What do you think?
No, definitely. No, we should have Ryan on the show. But anyway, I don't know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I guess I'm just loopy.
You know, I'm just over here. I'm like, you know, I just have to think about it because I'm over here organizing a WordCamp right now. You know, so.
I just want to bring community together. That's all I'm trying to do.
100%. WordPress is the best with community. There's no. Are you kidding me? That's why I still come around. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, we still have to deal with issues. You know, kind of like you were in your talk, Corey. It was like, okay, we have conflict. Let's talk about them. That's the adult thing to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think to a lot of extent we do handle it pretty well in our community because there are some pretty loud and obvious voices in our community that become our sounding boards. When those of us who are a little timid or too afraid, or honestly, those of us who aren't completely in the loop, right? That just kind of sit on the edge and watch some of it and aren't too sure about things, and we just kind of want to sit back and hear y'all talk about it. I mean, there's so many unique perspectives that come into this building for this weekend, right? There are the people just first experiencing WordPress and really walking in and being overwhelmed by so many people and so many different dynamics in the room, and then there are the people that are returning for second year and they're like, womp womp, this isn't as good as last year. And then there's those of us that are seasoned, that have been there, done that, and we really are here to kind of push the envelope and to see how far can we help push this thing and help motivate others to be a part of things and to make a difference, and we want to see the right integrity in things, and we want to see the right heart behind things, and I think overall that's there. I think
100%.
overall that's there.
Yeah, that's not even a thing. I completely, the WordPress people are awesome. Now there was some people that weren't really kind to the service people, but now I'm just going to be like
well,
that.
I saw your tweet on that. I heard you. Twitter blew me up when you were tweeting, and I was like, oh, Bridget's on it. Well,
it is because it is embarrassing because I feel like here we are in mass wearing our tags, and you're at the official hotel harassing a waitress because they're out of orange juice. Like, come on. I get it. We're frustrated, but it's also St. Louis. It's not moving fast like California. Like, I don't, like I do. When I leave California, I have to realize I'm in another state. This is a different culture. Things are slower.
Unless you go to New York, right?
I mean, I went to Rochester, New York. Things are super slow.
Oh, wow.
Like, it doesn't matter. We're not in a rush. The coffee will get here when it gets here. We'll go when we go. It's fine. It's a different culture. But in Orange County, it's like, like that. So it's, it is, you got to realize where we are. We're guests. So
I was reading David Bassett's tweet about 37 minutes ago that came up where he was talking about like he was essentially doing a scorecard, and one of the scorecards that everyone was failing at was the fact that people were asking two-part questions. Yeah. I hate two-part questions when you're in an environment like this. Like you're blessed to get the one. Now answer your one and make sure it's a good one, and don't turn it into a story that you have to explain what cars are and how cars work. And if you get in a car, you can drive it. Like, we know how cars work, bro. Like, get in there and start talking about it. But they get into this whole like thing, and it's like, we understand this stuff. Now, one thing I will say is answering a question is that not everyone knows what all this stuff means. Like, if you start talking about APIs, you start talking about Angular, you start talking about React, all this crap. I understand this stuff. I'm not a developer of Angular or React or any of those sorts of things, but I understand where they're going with this stuff. But not everyone does, and it stinks because Bassett's daughter was up there answering asking a question, and then Matt gets up there and starts talking about APIs and Angular and React and all this stuff, and I'm just like, bro, like I know you don't have kids, at least as far as I'm aware, but like, answer your question in a way that the person, like, are you answering the question to the camera, or are you answering the person that's asking it? Me personally, I think you should turn off everyone else that's in the room, and you're answering that person's question, and that's it. And you need to make sure that whatever it is that you're saying to them, that they're going to be able to understand it. And he put to me assumptions that this girl knew, this little girl knew everything about that he was discussing. Maybe she's a crazy React developer. No idea. And maybe he knew that. Okay, maybe. But really, I don't know. Like, you got to answer the questions the way that the people that are asking them would hopefully want them to be answered.
I think that goes back to how Bridget was kind of saying, that's just a little bit of training. I think just a little bit of that PR, a little bit of kind of understanding. But to your point, sometimes it's difficult to talk to young kids if you're not a parent or if you don't work with children all the time. Sometimes, and as industry leaders, we tend to talk over people's heads anyway, because that is our day-to-day lingo, right? But to kind of slow down for a minute, which is hard to do when you have the spotlight staring at you, but to slow down for a minute and to frame it and to give that value, like I was talking about earlier, to that person and show that respect in that moment and have a dialogue with one person. And it just so happens that there are 1,600 other people in the room and a live stream going on. That is secondary. I'm engaging with you right now. You had the guts to get up to a microphone and come put yourself on the spot. So let's have a quick conversation together, right?
I think that's a skill too that, probably is developed over time, and maybe they don't have that experience yet. I don't know. Sure. And I don't know, does Matt involve himself on a daily, like with community settings? Like for me, for instance, like I work with the meetup group on a regular basis, and so I'm talking to people one-on-one like that. But maybe that's something I don't know. Is Matt involved in a meetup group?
Yeah,
it's a good question.
Yeah,
probably not, because he's too visible. It would be really hard. Right. I mean, the reason why I say, because I used to be a pastor's wife and I used to be a church secretary, and I'm not kidding. But there was a pastor. He would say, I don't know anybody's names. And then I would watch from the side, and when they come up to him, I would text him. I mean, it wasn't this kind of phone, but I would text him the person's name. He didn't know their names. Like, that's what I'm saying it out of love. He needs help. I want him to be the best he can be.
I feel like you might be volunteering. Are you volunteering, Bridget?
I would do that. I would literally do that for him. I've told Giuseppe I will review his slides.
There you go.
You executive assistant.
Rewrote my entire presentation. I love you for it. I mean, oh my gosh, you're fantastic at what you do.
But then you'd have to use Gutenberg, Bridget. And do you really want to do that?
Hey, it's not my website. I'm just saying it's just it's not that I know I'm the naysayer of the Chicken Little, but like literally it was made for people like me who just put content on the web. Like a lot, I don't just do social media. Like a lot of times I'm helping my clients build their sites.
Yeah.
You know, I do a lot of work with Code Brain Media, and I'm throwing up words on the pages that they designed.
Yeah.
You know, or I'm throwing up, or part of the writing that I do is actually publishing it too. And I can't change the other people's, you know, their sites are their sites. You go into somebody's house to clean it, you don't buy new furniture, right?
Yeah.
So like I'm just doing what it is, and it's not always easy. And when you are managing, so I can't imagine having a big client load where you're managing all these different sites with all these different furnitures and different keys and all this stuff. Like I think it would be really frustrating. And so for me, I get frustrated. So I started using wordhtml.com a lot more. I write it, I throw it in there, I clean the HTML, and I just throw it in the HTML. Like, you know, because it's just I don't have time to be frustrated. I lose money, then I'm not profitable. You know, so it's not that it's nothing to do with the people who build it or the idea. It's just that you know, 20 updates in a year is a lot. Okay.
Yeah. Stats wise, I was looking at Matt Medeiros wrote this tweet, and he also wrote a blog post that goes along with it where he scraped out all of the transcript and shows that 72 times the word Gutenberg was used, 84 times the word block or blocks was used, 20 times community was used. And then the big one time the word governance was used. One time.
Wow.
One time.
It felt like more than that. I don't know, sitting in the room. I don't know. That's interesting.
Well, community, he started with that.
Yeah.
Movie, so that was.
Yeah. But one time, governance, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's why I said it felt like the weight of it again was also Gutenberg focused. And I do think it was funny though at the end that Matt even kind of dug himself. He kind of made a quick jab at it himself by saying, yes, this whole presentation was built on Gutenberg, but good thing it didn't break. You know, that came across the screen in the closed captioning up there. And I was like, that is what he just said. Oh my gosh. I love it.
Yeah, no, I think it was cool because like I said, I was watching the replay of it. I didn't see it all in person live, but as I saw the beginning, he did acknowledge how much resistance there's been, and there has been.
Okay, I was really proud of that, and I've said, you know, I comment live, but I was really proud that he did acknowledge the dissent. That was big of him.
Yeah,
he gets 5 stars from me on that.
That was big. He even read some of the hater tweets.
Yeah, the mean tweets.
The mean tweets. Yeah.
I thought that was great. I really liked it. I think his presentation was fine. I liked his presentation. He does the dad jokes. I guess we expect it from him. He's not that funny, but whatever. But I mean, you know, it's you know, but that's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's his shtick, right? It's almost like the dad joke makes him more human, and we like that in a leader for them to be a little vulnerable. So from a PR standpoint, I could completely endorse it. What I think he needs work on is with the Q&A, and that's why I say he needs a PR person to prep him with opposition research like a political candidate. And then in a couple of months he'll be able to deal with that easy. It's really not that big of a deal.
WP politics.
Well, it is politics because anytime you have people, you have politics. And that was the question that Christy Chirinos was asking. Like, how are you dealing with the stakeholder concerns,
Right.
management,
Yeah.
stakeholder management,
Management.
and because we are giving our time to WordPress, or have given, and we're making plugins and we're building businesses based upon this, and we would like to have a voice. And then the standard answer is, well, like he told Ryan Kinney, just go to Contributor Day. I'm like, GDPR was a big problem last year at last year's Contributor Day that I was at, and he sat down with Leo and talked about it. It's not, they've been talking about it. It's just been completely backburned, because what they
Right.
want is not the privacy page on WordPress. They want to talk about how decisions are made. And as we grow, these are normal growing pains.
These are great problems to have because it does show growth, right?
Yeah,
All of this. The
I
need
love
for
that.
PR, training. I mean, all of these things show the vastness and the beautiful array of where WordPress is growing and how our community is just really, really diverse and pushing out there and being seen and gaining more and more exposure, gaining more and more users, and just really blowing my mind that map that he pulled up that showed, he's like, I think we're even in Greenland or wherever.
That was so cool.
To see that vast span of where WordPress impacts lives and is being used today. How cool is that? To be the creator, to be on the ground level, to be one of the entry-level users even of WordPress, to be back in the original 2003 days of accepting this and using this, and now to see this beautiful growth. When Matt said that there are speakers here speaking that weren't even born when we started this thing. Oh, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's goosebumpy. That's goosebumpy.
Yeah, I mean, that shows you the longevity of this project. That shows you that even though there might have been rattling moments of the car is shaking, we don't know to get on or off, everything deals with that in that stage of growth, right? We all kind of deal with those shaky moments. And we're seeing that growing pains, those growing pains. We're seeing those even today, at the State of the Word. We see those growing pains. I think all of this is just a healthy sign that there's a community who even gives a crap.
Yes.
To voice opinions. And that the leader at the helm who actually gives a crap to stand there and be in the hot spot and try to do his damnedest to answer them correctly.
Yeah, there's that saying about a truly angry woman is a silent one.
Oh, good point, Bridget.
No, I agree with you. It's good to have. It's good. We're a family. We sit down and we talk about these things.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Shall we wrap up?
That would be great. I am so glad you guys came on.
Thank you for I mean, Corey's in some closet someplace. She ran off into some little section of the room over there.
I'm in a hotel room. I'm in a yellow hotel room.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, you did the framing just right and everything. It turned out great.
I'm sitting on a toilet. Is where the bathroom.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for both of you for hanging out with us, and Bridget. As always, it was fun to do this again. Make sure you stick around for next time when we do this during New Year's Eve, when all of the floats go by and we talk about all the things that are happening here. Because I totally felt like we were doing some type of Tournament of Roses type of thing. Yeah, for Rose Parade. So thank you very much for hanging out. Talk to y'all later. You have a good one. See you later.
Bye. Bye.